Now, say my name.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
Here we go. Y'all ready for this? Back again. It's okay to cry. Can you cry for me? Show me your vulnerable side. Today I'm going to tell you why weak man can't help you be strong. Weak men can't help you find your purpose. Weak men are obstacles.
Ever called a girl dull?
Or whistled at her walking down the street?
Ever stared at a woman on a bus or
said to your mate, I'd do that.
You ever give a girl a compliment? Like, nice?
And wondered why you didn't get a thank you.
ever slid into a girl's DMs?
You went ahead and just showed her it.
You ever bought a lassie dinner and felt that meant she owed you something?
You ever got a 3 shots in a row hoping you'd get a shot of her?
Then what? Bundled her wasted into a taxi and took her back to yours?
You ever guilt-tripped her? Or pressured her?
Or pushed her into it?
And then left feeling like a lad?
See, most men don't look in the mirror and see a problem.
But it's staring us right in the face.
Sexual violence starts long before you think it does. Don't be that guy.
Is that ominous enough for you? There you go. Somebody sent me that one this week. Gaslight yourself into thinking you are the perfect villain, my friends, because you are a weak man for actually, God forbid, you would actually find a woman attractive. God forbid you would actually ever consider giving a girl a compliment. God forbid. Yeah, really, don't do that. Remember the Gillette commercial from like 2019? We talked about that. We talked that one into the ground when that came out. And of course it was let's see, I called that feminist agitprop at that time, but I think it was sort of like the one of the a prime example. The Gillette commercial anyways was a prime example of this gaslighting, this convince yourself you're bad. Convince yourself that being masculine, being male is wrong. Convince yourself that if you have any testosterone of any normal serum testosterone amount in your bloodstream, that you are a potential abuser, you're a potential assaulter, you're a potential, you know what, and since we're only at 3 minutes in right now, I'm not going to say that word. You know what I'm talking about. So that's I wanted to sort of lead off with that today, simply because it's going to be relevant to what we're going to talk about as far as the weak men topic today. The title of today is, of course, Weak Men Can't Help You Find Your Purpose. And the reason why I'm sort of harping on this today is if you haven't seen my Wednesday video, it was a video I shot with Sterling Cooper and Justin Waller in Lake Tahoe the previous week before that. That is one of 2, by the way. So got a lot of really positive feedback about that. A lot of, I want to say it was sort of deep. I don't really call it deep. I mean, like, it's not anything that I haven't talked about in the past, but I think it was a little bit more, educational, maybe. I don't know. I think it was maybe a little bit more directional. And it got me thinking about what's been going on recently, not just in the manosphere, but in sort of the blogosphere and the videogosphere, whatever you want to call it, the masculine improvement sphere. I don't even know what the hell to call this anymore, because manosphere doesn't seem to be the right term anymore. Because a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing right now, people ask me, as you guys know, was it when I was on Fresh and Fit back in March? The topic, of course, was, is the red pill going mainstream? And my answer to that was, I hope not. But here we are. And exactly what I was saying would happen back then has happened now. And we're seeing more manifestations of this. It's a popular topic to bemoan the state of men today, especially if you're Generation Z or you're the last half of the millennial, hell, even the full generation of the millennials. You could even make that case right now. I see this not just in the manosphere. I see this on mainstream media. I see this on Tucker Carlson. I see this on, I see this from sources. I see this concern trolling really is what it is. I see this concern from sources that find the topic useful to them to get click-throughs, right? To get impressions, to get eyes on the screen, to get commercial dollars, right? And as you guys know, this is sort of a near and dear topic to my heart. I have been doing what I've been doing for, will soon be 20 years as of 2022. So got about another 2 months and it'll be 2 years. So I feel comfortable in calling it 2 years now. But I've been doing this for quite some time. At least I usually measure my time in what we now call the manosphere from about 2002, because that's when I was really a mod and got very involved in what would become the manosphere on social forums back in 2002. Actually, it was before that, but I kind of track it from there. It's when my first posts came out. I will be talking about, we'll get into yesterday's show a little bit on Rule Zero. If you watched yesterday, I hosted Rule Zero. We talked about the God pill. And I think a lot of people sort of took that as expected, as sort of this attack on religion. And there's no getting around that. I expected that. I predicted that. I knew it was coming. And that's not what that show is about. So let me before you go and spend $20 on a super chat to tell me how I don't know about Orthodox Christianity, let me save you some money for yourself. That's not what the show was about. It wasn't about religion per se. It was about the pivot. It was about the conversion, right? It was about disingenuousness versus genuineness. And it's not a, my God can beat up your God show. It was focusing on yet another trend in the manosphere, or the red pill, or whatever it is. Your guru, the guru pill. I don't even know what to call it. I will be getting to super chats a little bit later on. Please try to keep them on topic, particularly for today. People want to know why I do 3.5 hour live streams. It's because probably the last hour I'm trying to catch up with all of your super chats. So if you want me to get to them, keep them on topic. Rollo, speaking of religion, what do you make of the rise of Islamic terror attacks in Europe? Bow and arrow killer in Norway. I saw that, actually. Member of parliament stabbed to death in the UK in the past week. I'll tell you what's funny is when I saw the UK stabbing story, I did not, the first thing that jumped into my mind was not necessarily sort of this Islamic terror attack. It was more like I thought perhaps it was politically motivated before I would think anything from a religious, standpoint. I don't necessarily, those are a little bit out of my wheelhouse. But again, whenever I see an attack or I see people shooting each other, my first thought is this, and actually it's kind of relevant to today's topic. My first thought is that we're looking at, I don't know how old this guy was, but you're usually looking at young people who perpetrate these things usually are fairly young, and they don't have much purpose to themselves. If you go and you look at the Arab Spring that happened back in, was it 2013, 2014? You look at the demographic, and that's thank you for that. This is a really good lead in for today, because when we talk about purposeless men, when we talk about the Lost Boys generation, which is a term that was coined, I think, by, I want to say it was Jordan Peterson. I came around about that time, but the phenomenon existed long before that. I think it was Milo Yiannopoulos talked about the dropout generation, and I think Lost Boys sort of stuck a little bit better. But he did when Milo was writing for Breitbart back in the foggy days of 2014 or 2015. A lot of the concern that I see today that's sort of re-emerging today, and I would say probably a whole lot worse today, really started back then. And we began noticing this. And it was really part of the millennial generation where this was sort of the origins of this. But as I've said in the past, I will give you my 2 cents here while I'm prefacing things. I've got some videos to sort of root through a little bit here. But when we talk about the Lost Boys generation, you have to remember that this is if you go by millennials, it's the 3rd and the 4th generation of guys who've really been brought up in a post-sexual revolution world in Western culture anyways, and really in other cultures too. That's filtering into other cultures, not just Western cultures. But when you look at, say, like the Arab Spring, and you've got men between the ages of, say, 18 and 24, I think 24 or 25, I think that's the cohort, the demographic, who don't have any job, don't have any prospects, can't get laid because of either religious convictions, or they simply don't have the prospects to, or they think anyways, to have the prospects of becoming attractive to women. And they've got a lot of time on their hands. What do? Idle hands, right? So, and of course, I think that was a factor in motivating a lot of the civil unrest that went through that particular area. I guess it was the Middle East, right? In Tunisia and in that area at that time, was not too hard to spark at that time, because you've got nothing left to lose. If your life, remember, these aren't people who are, sitting at home jerking off to porn or anything like that. These are, young men who, for lack of a better term, are purposeless, are rudderless, not unlike the 18 to 24-year-old demographic right now, or maybe even a little bit. You could even go a little bit older here, I think, in Western cultures, and that's what we're starting to take notice of at this time. What do you say? Oh, I'm only reading this because you put Cesar Millan in here. Humans are the only species that follow unstable pack leaders. Well, yeah, Cesar Millan, how to deal with the divorced mom who's upset. I broke up with girlfriend. I will save that for later. I've got Sambada. Sambada is in the chat right now. What do you want, Telly? Again, the weak say that procreation is not our purpose, right? Well, biologically speaking, evolutionarily speaking, yes. Yeah, we can go down that route if you'd like. Okay, yeah, hold on to that for me, please, Sam. Man, it's getting a little dark in here today. Let me put the light up a little bit. Sorry, we're getting some clouds. It's in my secret bunker in the northern Nevada high desert here. I really gotta adjust the lighting. My bad. So I wanted to preface this because I've talked about this topic several times before. I've actually been talking about this really since 2014, but I'm going to refer to a post that I went to today, and I came across it in my research, in my digging through my old essays, looking for things that I think needed to be included in book 5, which is coming along very nicely. Thank you very much. Soon. Okay. But I was looking at it, and again, I have to remember the audience that I was writing about back in 2013 is not the audience that I have currently at 2021. I'm sure. I hope you stuck with me all that time, but if you haven't, so welcome, brothers. Looking for that purpose, right? Looking like, why are you looking for? Why do you want to learn game? Why do you want to learn about intersexual dynamics? Why? What is the appeal of the red pill? Red pill awareness. Why is that? And so I was looking at that because a lot of the stuff that I got into back in the day, back in, let's see, what year was this? Back in 2013. Well, this is from 2013. Back in the day was, it was more focused. I think it was more, there was a function for the red pill. Today, I think it's like, I think people see it more as not such a, not like a utility, but more of like how to think about things, how to think. And I think that's kind of a dangerous place to be. But being what that is, what did you say here? Sancho, why is it that your own friend will run you up the flagpole for posting videos of telling men to watch out for cuffing season? Say it's weak. Dude, leave cuffing season alone, please. Leave cuffing season alone. Leave the jingoism alone for a while. Like take a step back. Cuffing season. I remember when that came out. I remember when I first heard about that, again, like something from like 2014, 2015. Step back from that for a minute. Look at the latent purpose of like what, breaking up with your girlfriend, right? Kind of thing. Oh, well, it's the holidays are here, so I got to break up with my girlfriend. Whatever. It's trendy. Anybody using like jingo, like lingo, right? Using words or using terms that are that you should be in the know to get, like secret language, right? Step back from that and look at the function. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying, consider the source first, and then also why is that appealing to you at that particular time? No, I will not debate Kevin Ray Wilder. I don't owe him a debate, and quite honestly, he's disingenuous, and I think I've already proved that, and I'm going to prove it again later on in this show today too. So stay tuned. I wrote this post back in the day. It was called Artificial Joy, and I can put it up here if you want. Actually, I'll just read it to you. I'm not even going to read it to you. It's from 2013. I will link it in the description. Yes, I will. I promise I will link it in the description. But Artificial Joy was this. I was analyzing this scene back in 2013, so bear with me, of The Matrix. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with this part where Cypher, who is part of the crew, right? And he wants to be plugged back into the Matrix, and he goes on his own and talks to the Smith Agent Smith. At that time, he was only one at that time. Well, I guess there's more. But he's talking to Agent Smith, and he wants to be plugged back into the Matrix. And that always kind of stuck with me, because even as far back as the mid to late 2000s, there were a lot of guys who wanted to be put back into the Matrix. They wanted to be, they willingly wanted to be the crab that got pulled back down into the barrel. And the reason why I called this Artificial Joy was because at that time, a lot of guys were like really addicted to porn, not just like they are now, but they are also sort of addicted to escapisms. And part of that was like World of Warcraft. I mean, if you like the game, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to come down on that, but like video games, it's the first thing any of these concerned trolls will talk about when they talk about why is it that we have weak men today? Why is it that we have guys who don't want to go to college, don't want to prepare themselves, don't want to prepare themselves for to be an adult? Why is it that there is such a broad audience for men who want to tell you to man up? Because that's really all it is. It's just different flavors of man up. And so if your flavor happens to be TradCons, it's right there. If your flavor happens to be even like liberal progressivism, right? Even if you're like sort of one of these woke crew guys, there's still man up for you. It's just in a different fashion. If you go and you look at like guys who want to be in the white pill, guys who want to, even the black pill, right? A real man just exits the game, right? That's in a way, that's kind of man up. If you were a real guy, you would do this. Then you got the guys driving Lamborghinis or, doing whatever, flexing, what conspicuous consumption. And that's a real man. And I mentioned this. I actually did a short video of this at one point where I said, it's called the man medal. Guys have become so confused as to what conventional masculinity is or what works for them or why they don't have a purpose. And the reason for that is they've been deliberately confused. Like masculinity is something that's subjective. Like you get to define whatever the hell it is. That's sort of like the liberal, lefty, progressivist kind of thing. Well, a real man cries. A real man is vulnerable. A real man, hugs his blankie when he's upset, right? That's okay. You can do that too. A real man, takes care of his kids. A real man is a stay-at-home dad. Whatever, like lay it on. And then you can go and look at like, say, Twitter, and you'll see these ratchet hoes, right? Talking about how a real man takes care of kids that aren't actually his. And over and over and over again, what a real man does is whatever benefits that particular either ideology or that function, in the case of women, whatever benefits women in gynocentrism or whatever their most immediate need is, that's what a real man does. Oh, I'm in my epiphany phase, 29 to 31 years old. A real man settles down and he's not afraid of strong women. And it's like, what the hell is your duty? What the hell? Like we talked about this yesterday on Rule Zero when we're talking about religion, and we're talking about, I think somebody asked me a question about I had a post in my very first book, The Rational Male. And the chapter was called The Honor System. And I tried to break down like why it is that we even like men have a sense of honor. Like what does it mean to a man as opposed to what it means to a woman? That's another one of those concepts. It's sort of a gendered concept. It's like respectability or love or that kind of stuff. Men and women do not share a mutual definition of what honor is, because honor amongst men is not necessarily what honor amongst women is. And I also made a point to say that, that's also comes down to like commitment. Women have a very gendered idea of what commitment should be, whereas for men, men are not committophobes. Ladies, if you're watching, men are not committophobes. We commit to more than you do. Most men can commit to things, to institutions, to businesses, to the military, to their family, to a contract, to their jobs, whatever it is. Men commit way more than you do. Commitment does not just mean commitment to you, but that's the gender concept. Same thing with honor. What's your duty? What should be your duty? What's loyalty? What's duty? Blah, blah, blah. Right. I'm going to talk about that a little bit here today too, but getting back to the artificial joy topic here is once you've pulled yourself out of the matrix, once you have exited from the blue pill, once you've taken the red pill, like figuratively speaking, okay? It's a metaphor, go with it. Once you've taken once you put the red pill lens on your face, the glasses don't come off. They will not come off. And that's why I did that, that's why I did that essay back in the day called Artificial Joy. Because one thing I get into when I talk with like Ryan, or I talked about this yesterday with Ryan, it's like, and I'm quoting him, although I think he was probably quoting somebody else. It's like, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And that's the premise of artificial joy. Is the life you live right now, is that worse than your escapism? For a lot of guys, I would say for the vast majority of guys, for the 80%ers, right? 80% betas, the unattractive guys, I would say that that's probably the case. And we've never lived in an era in human history where it has been easier to facilitate you with your artificial joy, whether that's drugs, whether that's video games, whether that's pornography, whatever it is. I've also got another essay. I didn't pull it up, but I got another essay. It's in, I want to say it's in Positive Masculinity. It's in my third book. It's called The Something Else. And if it wasn't World of Warcraft, if it wasn't porn, if it wasn't, I don't know, prescription opioids, whatever you're addicted to, your alcohol, your whatever maybe your addiction is actually going on and talking shit about other guys. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the internet. Maybe it's social. Maybe it's OnlyFans. Maybe whatever your addiction is, I don't even call it addiction. Whatever your escape is, if it wasn't that, it would be something else. And that's why I hate it when I have to deal with guys who are these TradCon guys who want to say, oh, well, it's because of this. Oh, these guys are purposeless and they're listless and they're lazy and they're lethargic because that's just how they are. And they're addicted to video games and they're playing Call of Duty. And therefore, that's why they don't want to do anything, which is absolutely a cop out. It's as if you're saying, well, it was Marilyn Manson that caused those guys to go shoot up that school, right? It was Judas Priest who was the reason why, these kids decided to commit suicide. It was violent video games. It was porn. It was whatever it is. Name the escape. But every single one of those is a sedation of some sort or it's an escape of some sort. And really what they fail to look at and what they fail to really wrap their heads around, I think maybe because it's because they're not thinking about it, or it's not something that gets eyeballs on the screen, but it would be something else. And all of those things are escapisms. How do I avoid my shitty life? Is your escape life better than your shitty real life? And I think that's probably one of the most difficult, disconnects that a lot of guys have when they I'm not anything like a motivational speaker. I'm not success porn guy, right? I'm not the guy driving around a Lamborghini. I might be on the mountaintop in Tahoe or something like that, but I'm not flexing on you with conspicuous consumption. However, I think that a lot of guys have a real tough time having that resonate with them or having a connection with that because it seems too impossible. It seems like it could never happen for them. And you know what? Screw it. It's not going to happen for me. I'm going to go back into the matrix. I'm going to be Cypher. Make me someone rich. as he's eating a steak, a fake steak, right? Instead of the gruel or whatever that he was getting in the real world, that was on the Nebuchadnezzar, right? On the ship. Yes, I'm a dork. I know these things. But the porridge, right? The protein mix that they were eating. And the fantasy, the escape was better. Living there was better than living in the real world, because the real world sucked. Absolutely sucked. The real world will get you killed. But you can be a hero in World of Warcraft. You can be a hero in the Matrix. And again, what would you rather be? Would you rather be happy, or would you rather be right? And once you make that decision, and sometimes that decision is made for you, but once that decision is made, ain't no going back, man. That's why I always laugh at these guys. You want to know why I have such a problem with guys who are quote unquote purple pill? It's not an insult. That's not an invective, by the way. That's just a diagnosis. The reason I have a problem with that is because they're cipher. They're trying to push themselves back into the matrix, because that escape is more comfortable than having the truth and having reality forced upon them. It's harder for them. They don't get that, and they don't see how they can be better at it. They don't see the opportunities that are in that with the red pill lens on, right? From a new red pill paradigm. They don't see that. I hate to use that word. that red pill awareness. I know it sounds like it's like, let's link our synergies. Anyways, in a red pill paradigm, they don't see the opportunities that are inherent in that. Knowing the truth will set you free, but it will not make that truth feel any better. It will not absolve you of the responsibilities that truth forces upon you, or the liabilities for that matter too. Once you know the truth, it is on you. It is incumbent upon you to use that as creatively as possible, so that you can make your real world way better than your old escape, which is the blue pill. Or you can be purple pill, or you can force yourself back into the matrix, or pretend you can force yourself back into the matrix. And when I wrote Artificial Joy, I did so because I saw a lot of guys doing this. If that's really where the purple pill term came from, it's not. This stuff isn't new, guys. This is not novel. I'm not blazing any trails here. This has been around for a while. So when I was writing that, I saw a lot of guys who really wanted that. They go, okay, well, I got all this red pill information. I got all this red pill data. I understand my nature. I understand women's nature, and it's expanding. It's expanded since I even wrote that back in 2013. We have a better understanding today than we did back then. It's 8 years. 8 years? Yeah, 8 years ago. And so when I was noticing this, I saw guys who really started a brand. They would start, or back then it was like a blog or a forum, because it wasn't as developed as it is right now, but they would start those. And then suddenly, incrementally, just little by little, they would go back and they say, well, maybe it's okay to go back to the plantation. Maybe it's okay to be a crab and go back into the bucket. With this new knowledge, I'll be king of the crabs. I'll be king of the crabs in the bucket with my red pill awareness. I'll be the best slave on the plantation. After you've learned to read, after you've taught slaves to read. Thank you, Ed Lattimore, for that. That was a brilliant analogy. That's another post I have. Actually, I did an interview, a double interview one time with myself and Ed Lattimore, and he said, the red pill and all this stuff, that's sort of coming up right now is like a lot like teaching slaves to read. And once you can't go back into the matrix. You don't get to be cipher. You don't get to have the big stake. But I thought it was interesting, from an analytical, sort of allegorical, metaphorical perspective, because the desire for that is like, oh man, reality sucks. That's why you get into your escape in the first place, whatever that is, whether it's video games or whatever else. And I'm sorry if I'm monologuing here. I kind of have to do, this is my preface, of course, for what's coming next. But I have to state that, because once the red pill lens goes on, they don't come off. And even if you think you can take them off, even if you think you can take your red pill lens off, they don't come off, and they don't come off easy. That's for sure, because you will see things around the edges in your peripheral awareness. Even if you're just like, blah, 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 I'm not going to see anything. I'm not looking, blah, 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 I'm not looking. Right. You're still looking. Your peripheral understands. Some part of you is aware of that. Even if you can pretend, even you can go back into LARPing again, even if you can go back and do your escapism and your pretend. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with escapes, by the way, but I'm just saying that when that escape becomes your life, then that's when it's a problem. But when you are trying to ignore everything else, when everything around you is still screaming, like I said before, the red pill and being red pill aware, whether you're practicing game or whether maybe you're black pill, maybe you're MGTOW, maybe you're white pill, maybe you're whatever pill I don't care, but your mom pill, whatever it is, you still see around the edges, whatever program you've decided to program yourself with, around the edges, it's unignorable. And I will guarantee you that today's, what is it? October 17th, 2021. By this time next year, there will be some big event. There will be some new technology. There'll be some new way to be aware of all of this stuff. There'll be something else. It happens like damn near if not every year, certainly like every other year. We're still talking about these same, the Lost Boys. Here we are, 2021 from back in 2015, 2016. But you don't get to take the lens off. So congratulations, guys. Deal with it. What I was trying to convey on the mountaintop with Sterling Cooper and Justin is that you need to make your real life better than your escape. And that's really, I think, where the Lost Boys are at right now. You want to know why you don't have purpose. You want to know why don't start giving me this crap about meaning or any of this other crap. Okay, you need a direction. You need purpose. Okay, well, the problem that you're going to have in finding that purpose is because your escape life is better than your real life. And you have to believe at some point, somewhere along the way, and yes, I'm using the term believe, at somewhere along the way, you have to realize that you can use this information and you can use the red pill awareness to create a better life for yourself. How's that for positivity? Right? Now I'm a positivity hustler. I wrote a book called Positive Masculinity. What the hell? What more do you want? Telly, who are the strong men and why should we listen? The very fact that you're asking me that question leads me to believe that you're looking for a shepherd. You tell me, man. You tell me who the strong men are. You tell me why you think that they're strong men and what makes them strong? By whose definition? In fact, that's a really good lead in. Let me throw this up real quick. This is from our good friend Nassim Nicholas Taleb. He says, weak men act to satisfy their needs, stronger men their duties. Great. What's my duty, Taleb? Nassim? What's my duty? Because everyone has a duty for you right now. Everyone boy, they want to give you the man medal, don't they? You know why you're confused? Because deliberately, since right around 1965 or so, you've been deliberately misguided, obfuscated. There's your vocabulary word. It's been subjectivized, relativized, whatever you want to call it. Masculinity is just whatever you want to make it, man. It's a mask you wear. You want to know why you're confused? Is because no one believes masculinity is authentic, period. I don't care if it's Jocko Willenick. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. I don't care if it's that guy. There are people who will say, well, you're just puffing up his chest. Right? I saw the video, by the way. Damn it, I thought I had it loaded. The one of the guy who's the Punisher, and I can't remember the actor's name. Somebody will give me that, I'm sure, at somewhere along the line. The guy who played the Punisher in the Netflix series with Daredevil and stuff. Somebody give me that real quick. I know his name. Anyways, he was interviewed recently and he was talking about masculinity and it sounded every bit. And this is a guy that was the Punisher, right? This is the guy that's like, he's the man's man. He's like ex-military, whatever he is. I don't think he's actually ex-military, but the definition, the duty of a man is to be vulnerable and to be caring and it's all of these if you use the adjectives and you could say, okay, thank you, John Bernthal. If you use adjectives that would describe femininity, that's what we're using. Compassion and this, and it's okay to cry and don't fluff your chest out. That's not real masculinity. That's a fake mask. That's a mask you wear. There was a documentary back in 2016 called The Masks Men Wear. And really what it was, and including by the way, the lead-in video that I came up with right here, which is sort of like this video so that you won't you will gaslight yourself into thinking that you are a fraud. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Look at yourself. Do you want women? You're bad. You're a bad man. Don't do that. Don't think you could talk to them. Have pure intentions. Be authentic, right? Because you're looking in the mirror and you're looking at a mask, not the real you. Okay, what's the real me? Okay, what's my real duty? Okay, what are my responsibilities so I can be a real man? How do I get the man medal? Well, certainly not the way that these kids have been, the lead-in video are talking about. Remember the Gillette video? We're like, hey, bro, don't go after her. But I like her. She's hot. I want to approach her. I want to talk to her. I want to do what men have been doing. Oh, I don't know. Prior to the sexual revolution, pretty much every day that my grandfather and great-grandfather did. Hey, I chat up a girl, talk to her, date her, approach her. Women want you to approach them, man. Why the hell is that even a problem? But if you're gaslighting yourself into thinking that you're just, I'm filthy, I have this penis, I'm a man. But that's inauthentic. You're wearing a mask. Okay, well, what's the real me? What's the authentic me? More like a woman. More compassionate. Cry a little bit. Embrace your emotions. Get in touch with your female side, which is more language from the 1970s feminism. Just so we're all above board with all of this. Did I have anything else? I realize I probably haven't caught everybody. ML, what did you say? I agree with you. I also found that some men are scared of autonomy and making decisions is part of it. Lack of male role model education. We're going to get to that. Actually, I thank you for putting that up there because we're going to talk about that here in just a minute as I am going to show you another video, my good friends. Put that. Let me see. Excuse me. This was pretty good. White Knight who was, yeah, exactly. Remember that? Remember that scene? We've gone from that to, these real soulful beta male guys. And forgive me, I think they sound like they have like a Welsh accent. I don't know. I can do accents, but I'm not really sure what the dialect is. But it sounds like that, right? Well, and why? Why is that? Why is that popular? Why is that a big deal? Well, look at yourself. Stop yourself before you do these things. Really what it is gaslighting yourself into staying in your lane. Don't get out of your escape. Okay, fine. I'm not supposed to do that. Great. I look at myself in the mirror and I'll think I'm a big piece of shit. And then I'll go back to jerking off to porn, my OnlyFans girls, my waifu, my video games, because apparently that's where it all is. And I'm just going to wait. Close my eyes and wait till life is over because my escape is better. Because if my reality is I'm an inauthentic masculine guy and I should look in the mirror and be ashamed of myself automatically, then, or maybe I should just pile on and be a male ally instead of an actual, male masculine man, human, God forbid you call yourself a man, right? Human being. Instead of doing that, I guess I'm going to go and retreat back to my escapes. That's all we hear. And by the way, I want to throw this out there just really quickly because somebody told me this right before showtime and I looked at the trailer for it. I realized this. Thank you very much. You can stop sending me these in my DMs, but I did see the trailer for the Netflix series You. YOU. And I think it came from somewhere else and Netflix got a hold of it and now they're like releasing all 4 seasons of it and maybe they're picking it up. I'm not really sure. But it's interesting to me. Again, you want to talk about trends that are in the mainstream. This is it. By the way, also, yes, I'm aware of Made as well. Okay. I get it. I watched actually a couple of episodes of that because somebody told me I needed to watch that. I will actually go and do the work. And when You comes out, I might watch a little bit of that. But from the trailer, I could sort of glean this. You got a guy who was an ex-stalker, who is this dark triad dude who gets this, poor, vulnerable waif of a girlfriend. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know how this actually ends up, so I'm unfamiliar with the plot. But what I got from the trailer was, man, bad. He's a nice guy who was a stalker, by the way, and it's like the story of a successful stalker. Man, bad. if you've read my, and I'm going to discuss this, by the way, with Rich Cooper probably tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be on his show. Just for your note. Here's a notice for you. Sorry, we're at the 40-minute mark. I will be on with Rich Cooper on his show tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. And we're going to talk about my fourth book, which is religion. And we're going to talk about that and probably marriage and some other stuff too. But part of religion was talking about how women today have 3 archetypes of men from which to choose. One of the, okay, well, I'll give you all 3 really quickly. And spoiler alert, if you haven't got the book, by the way, it's available on Audible now. But spoiler alert, here it is. Okay. First one is ridiculous guy, right? It's dumb daddy. It's Homer Simpson. It's Dr. Huxtable. It's Everybody Loves Raymond. I know I'm using old ones. There's more. It's Family Guy. It's idiot father, idiot daddy who needs mommy and a female influence or daughter to save him from himself. And you will see that archetype over and over and over again. And it's been something that's been going on really since the mid 80s. But it's this constant repetition of that particular archetype. Then there is the guy who is the borderline abuser. If it's not dumb daddy, stupid daddy, it is guy that is borderline abusive. He's the guy who's the dark triad guy. He's the sexy guy from Twilight, from 50 Shades of Grey, from name whatever flavor of 50 Shades of Grey is available. That's the dude, right? Except for he's evil. I talked about this with John from Modern Life Dating in the Why is Evil Sexy episode. Go check that out when you get a chance. But that's the archetype. He's borderline abusive. And if he's not, he has the potential to be. If he thinks about himself, if he makes himself his mental point of origin, then he has at least the potential to be abusive guy. He has the potential to be stalker guy if the girl breaks up with him, right? He's the guy who won't take no for an answer. He's pushy guy. He's the guy that these guys are warning you not to become. Bad guy. That's what you is about. It's this guy who seems like a good, nice guy, slips in under the radar, slips in under the hypergamous filter, checks off all the boxes, man. Sexy as hell, dark triad, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, whatever you want to call it, but very good at hiding it, very good at wearing a mask, right, to cover his pathologies. That guy. Ooh, watch out for him too. So I can get idiot daddy. I can get borderline abusive guy if I'm a young lady today, or I can get incompetent douche nozzle. I can get that incompetent guy who's just like, life happens to him and he's like swell little beta guy. Those are guys good for long term. There's the fantasy of having the good guy who you can lock down, like The Rock, right? He's good looking, he's sexy, he's built, and he's an actor, and he goes to church on Sundays, and he likes puppy dogs, and he loves his mom too. Like there's that fantasy, but the reality, for the most part, particularly from mainstream society and certainly popular culture, are those 3 archetypes: idiot, incompetent, or evil. Those are the 3. That's what you get, ladies. Which one are you going to go for? Well, they usually go for evil because that guy usually looks a whole lot better and he's hotter and funner, right? You won't be bored with evil. You'll be bored with idiot and you'll be bored with competent guy. So, but I saw that, and that's another archetype, right? So if you're a guy and you're encountering women who expect you to be the guy from You, I hate nice guys, man. If you're a really I've said this before, but if you're really a nice guy, you got your work cut out for you. If you're like genuinely, honestly, hey, man, I'm a very agreeable. I'm high in agreeableness. I'm a nice guy. I want to I want to be serviceable. I want to be a good servant for whatever. I want to, be a good soldier. I want to do my duty, right? Nassim, that makes me a strong man. What's my duty, right? Well, be serviceable, be a good soldier, right? But still, you've got this guy who wants to be really, really nice, but he's fighting against those archetypes. So even nice guy today is not nice. In fact, I would say that women are probably more suspect of nice guy today than any other time. I've been talking about nice guys since 2002. Nice guys finished last. We've talked about that a bajillion times. So when we talk about nice guys finishing last, Now it's like you're a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now it's like you're playing nice. Now is he really nice? Or is he trying to get in you're trying to get in my pants. No, really. I'm a nice guy. I just wanted to help you out. No, I know guys just like you. I saw you. So keep that in mind, because most times I think one of the problems that when guys say, well, I can't find a quality woman, I can't, all these ratchet hoes on Fresh and Fit, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, you're looking at a generation, probably a generation and a half, that has had that as their expectations for real life guys. Oh, well, if that's the case, I think I'm just going to go back to my escape. I think I want to get plugged back in the Matrix. I want to be Cypher. Make me someone powerful in my fantasy world. Steak is good, right? But put me back into the Matrix. You don't get to go back in the Matrix, by the way. What did you say? Most people are uninterested in this level of autonomy in how we conceive of it. I think Aristotle, Nietzsche. That's really deep, JD. It's a naturally occurring hierarchy. You know, most people don't even, they wouldn't be able to give you an Aristotle quote. Most people don't even know what Nietzsche is, who Nietzsche is, what Nietzsche is, Nietzscheism. Weak men don't have the right to say what's good. In fact, yes, they don't. Giving up your power doesn't make you good. Using it responsibly does. Okay, again, what's responsibility? To whom are you responsible for? Did I get to that? I got to that too. I'm going to try to go back and find the ones that are actually. Okay, I got to you, ML. I got to JD. I got to you. And am I caught up? I think I am. If I didn't, I'm going to go back over later. So I want to throw that out there now. Here we are at the 45-minute mark. I'm going to show you this guy. And by the way, before I show you the rest of these videos, in all likelihood, this video is going to get demonetized. Because I'm using a lot of videos here, and I don't know whether or not I'm going to get at least a soft copyright strike for these. So be kind. I'm going to add this guy in here. I thought this was really interesting. Let me know if it's echoing. I don't think it will.
American men. And before I start, let me say, I don't have any answers for you as to why, and I don't have anyone to blame. I don't even really know how deep the problem goes. But what I do know is that the crisis amongst men in America today is leading some really bad outcomes for our society, and it's beginning to show itself everywhere in American life. The first warning shot across the bow came from the Wall Street Journal earlier this month. Marshall and I actually discussed this the last time he was on the show, but it's worth repeating some of the core conclusions from that story. Quote.
Okay, before he quotes, this is not the first shot across the bow, my good friend. The first shot across the bow actually came from Hannah Rosen in The Atlantic back in 2010. She wrote an article that ended up turning into a book, and it was called The End of Men. That was the first shot across the bow. Okay, so number one. The second shot across the bow was actually from, let's see, there's an article called First Things First back in August 2nd of 2016, which I'm going to read to you after this. Remember that the Wall Street Journal is just catching up to all of this, and so is Sagar, whatever his name is. He's on Breaking Point, which is, I think, I'm pretty sure it seems like a conservative channel, whatever. I don't know. Is he on? Somebody can tell me. Is he on Daily Wire? I think he might be. But just to put these things into perspective, into retrospect, let's just say this is not new. We've been talking about this for for a decade, at least, like maybe 11 years. We've been talking about this for a very long time. Milo Yiannopoulos wrote The Dropout Generation. Dr. Jordan Peterson, The Lost Boys Generation. This is not new. So don't pretend like it is.
At the close of the 2021 academic year, women made up 59.5% of college students, an all-time high. Men, 40.5%, according to enrollment data from the National Student Clearinghouse. U.S. colleges and universities had 1.5 million fewer students compared with 5 years ago, and men accounted for 71% of that decline. Okay, that's stunning. If the trend holds within the next 5 years, 2/3 of all college degrees in the United States will be granted to women. The male drop-off in college holds across race, age, geography, and economic background. In other words, unlike many stories in America today, it's not class or race, it's gender. There's no one reason as to why men are choosing to forego college, but there is a consensus on one thing. This is really not good for society. Like it or not, a 4-year college degree is required for entry to the upper echelon of America. Think about how many jobs that have.
Boy, don't tell Aaron Clary that. I should point this out right now, is because we're talking about college entry, and the keys to success or future success is still tagged to a college university degree. And in some ways, yes. In most ways, no. And it's not so much about guys not wanting to do those things. It's about, or following that particular path. It's guys would rather be in their escape. That's what he's about to say here in just a second. Well, we'll address that in a second. But it's also the fact that for the last almost 60 years, at least from 1960, let's just say 1970, let's round it off. From 1970 to where we are right now, we have done nothing but empower women. We have done nothing but create special dispensation for women. We have done nothing but force women into fields that they don't really have any natural proclivity for. Not that they can't do those things. It's just they just simply don't have a natural desire to do those things. We don't see women working in engineering. We don't see women desiring to get into raw sewage. We don't see women wanting to get into construction. There are certain fields of expertise that you're simply never going to see women in. But in the fields that they do get into, we make it as easy as possible. We push and push and push. And we complain and cry and kvetch and whatever else you want to call it about how women can't get into the top, at the top of the pyramid. We talk about apex fallacies all day long. But really, guys like this don't want to analyze where we've come from. They're only looking at the symptoms and not the disease. So
nothing to do with college still require a degree. And from there, that's just the entry point. Media, economics, politics, law, business, venture capital, almost all professional jobs today require a college degree. It's simply a bare minimum to even get a shot at competing. Now, not having half the population.
That's been talking about getting a college degree to get a shot at the competition, right? Yeah, I mean, depending on the field that you want to get into. But if you go and you talk, and God, I wish I had Aaron Clary on just for this one part right here. But if you go and you look statistically speaking, most guys are laying off, or they're staying out of college because why? Because it's a socialist indoctrination camp. We hear that constantly. You guys don't want to go to college for a variety of different reasons. First and foremost, is because you got to take out enormous amounts of debt. If we go and you look at the debt ceiling, or you look at the debt load that women carry, at least in the United States, they carry something like, I'll dig it up. I'll let this go a little bit. I'll find you the exact stats for this. But women carry 2/3 of the American student debt load. You want to know why Biden was so popular amongst the young women as for voting for him? It's because he promised to absolve them of that student debt. Debt forgiveness. Of course, he's very popular. 2/3 of women have the most amount of money invested in student debt right now, not men. So when he talks about, 2/3 of women are going to get degrees and they're going to be out there and that's going to cause a real big problem. Yeah, it is. It already is. It's been causing a problem for a long time, Cigar. But the fact of the matter is we have a generation of guys who don't see exactly the value of what you're talking about. It's not. Universities used to be a place where you would get education. And you've heard me say this before, that an education is a reward unto itself. To be a well-educated human being, to be able to speak knowledgeably on a variety of subjects, to have at least an introduction to critical analysis, critical thinking, like those kinds of things. Absolutely. But how do we look at college right now? We look at it as the prerequisite for getting the job that we want, because if we don't get it, we won't get as high a job. We won't get higher education. We'll be locked out of the American workplace if we don't have a college degree. Second of all, right now, speaking just locally, in 2021, think of how many people are looking for work right now. I was up in Lake Tahoe. I'm looking at restaurants that will give you a $500 sign-on bonus if you'll come up there and be a fry cook. No lie. I saw 2 of them with banners saying, come on in, we have a sign-on bonus. $500 will give you a $500 stipend if you come in here and you become a chef for us. No experience required. Just waltz on in, my friends. Thank you for that. I believe that was a suit. Thank you, Setal Holm. Thank you. So again, this is 20th century thinking right here. I'm not saying it's not I think education is valuable just unto itself, and education is its own reward, being able to speak knowledgeably. But that's, a lot of guys are very hesitant of that now, because they see this. They see their sisters go off to college and they look like, Susie Cream Cheese, they look like, blonde hair, blue eyed, like, well-adjusted young lady. And they come out 4 years later and they've got their hair chopped off. It's purple, and they're, wearing, electrical tape over their nipples and the next protest. All right. We see this all the time. Guys will talk about this, how like the before and after, before feminism and after feminism, before college, after college. You see those shots all the time. And again, it's unignorable. While guys are just dropping out, they need to man up and take responsibility. That's going to be his recipe for solving this problem here in just a moment. But again, the idea, the plan, the path is 20th century. It is old order thinking. There are other paths. There are other ways. Are those guys finding that? No. But this is an old order way, an old order style of thinking.
Participating in that is going to lead to some real weird outcomes. But here's the thing. College numbers, it turns out, is just a bat signal for a much deeper problem. New data from Pew Research with pre-COVID data finds that men are now much more likely to be single than women. Now you might think, there's nothing wrong with that. Single days were fun after all. But on a societal-wide level, more single men has all sorts of downstream effects which are terrible. Listen to this, quote, "Single men are much more likely to be unemployed, financially fragile, to lack a college degree than those with a partner. They're likely to have lower median earnings. Single men earn less in 2019 than in 1990, even adjusting for inflation." You know what's even weirder? Single women are actually earning the exact same amount than they were 30 years ago. But those with partners are earning 50% more than previously. Something is uniquely happening amongst men that has made them not only more single, but actually making a lot less money. And it turns out...
Okay. Where he's going to go next is you guys need to get off your lazy fat asses. That's what it's going to be. This is the pit. Okay. So when we look at positivity hustlers, let's just say, I'm going to try to be as nice as I can be here. But when we look at positivity hustlers, they have it's the same sales pitch. Let's get up and go, guys. Come on. That's really what this amounts to, rather than looking at the symptoms or looking at the disease here. I'm not saying we have to go and repeal the 19th. That's not coming out of my mouth. But the fact still remains is that we live in a gynocentric social order that's probably served this guy very, very well up to this point, no doubt. Pandering and playing to it can be very profitable if you know how to game the system, let's just say. What we're not going to look at the circumstances that lead to these guys being where they're at right now. And we're not going to try to find any way to give these guys authority to be responsible. Once again, TradCons always make that cardinal error. Oh, responsible. Men need to man up, blah, blah. Great. How do we do that? Can you give us the power to do that? Empower us to do that. Give us TV shows that show other guys doing this, stepping up and doing that. You're not going to see those on Netflix. That's not Squid Game. You're not going to see anything popular like that. You're not going to have a 50 Shades of Grey for guys who actually step up and actually master their worlds, because then they'll suddenly, like, did you see the reviews for the Duelists or The Last Duel? I think, yeah, The Last Duel. Oh, it's misogynistic and I can't believe it. Well, we actively work against that. On a societal level. We actively work against that and have been doing so really probably since before that. Now, the other thing here is I'm gonna channel my inner turd flinging monkey here and say, yeah, men who are married, men who are partnered, yeah, they make a whole lot more money and have been doing so. We have had this conversation over and over and over again. Yes, they make more money because they have to make more money. Otherwise, they wouldn't be partnered. That's the case. That's the whole thing. Well, women can't find economically attractive men. Yeah, of course they can't. Because it's not about, oh, I love this person, I don't care about that. It's not about this lovey-dovey romantic ideal. The romantic ideal only exists for men. It does not exist for women. Certainly not in a gynocentric social order. Well, men need to man up. Why? So they can do their duty. Well, what is that duty? Well, you've got to be acceptable and economically attractive for women. Define yourself by the gynocentric social order, not unlike the video that I just showed at the very beginning of this stream. Hate yourself, gaslight yourself, be what they want you to be. Lock yourself into that. Lock yourself into the ideal that if you can get that approach, make womankind your mental point of origin. Be better, guys. Okay, what's better? Do your duty. Okay, weak men don't do their duty. Strong men do their duty. Great. What's my duty? To make mama happy. That's what the duty is. And we don't, with, again, 20th century thinking. Actually, it's probably like 19th and 18th century thinking as well. Make mama happy. Old order expectations for you, new order entitlements for her. That's what it is.
That itself is a vicious feedback loop. People who are financially stable are much more likely to find and attract a partner. Look, it's not that people are gold diggers. They're not.
Then what are they? What are they? What are they, Cigar? What? That's not gold diggers. Yeah, well, they want what's best for them. Of course they do. We're always looking, we're human beings. We're looking for the best possible outcome. We're looking for the best possible options. Women are hypergamous, but it's not that men don't make comparisons. We do. That's where we're human beings are very good at pattern recognition. We can get that. But the fact still remains is that he's really walking on eggshells here too, because by pointing out that women are looking for an economically attractive partner, all that romantic ideal, all that bullshit, all that the soulmate stuff flies right out the window. I can't fall in love with a sandwich artist. Why not? The romantic ideal says you should be able to, Shakespeare and Ovid and all these, romantic poets said that all you need is love, right? The Beatles saying that. No. Women are opportunistic in their approach to love. Men are idealistic. They believe that love should exist for the sake of it. Women will not allow themselves to become emotionally invested in a guy unless he checks off those boxes. Opportunism, that's as nice as I can put it. I know that there's a negative connotation with opportunism, ladies, but that's really what it's about. You got to meet this criteria, or I don't want a broke ass dude. I don't want that guy. Okay. Well, maybe you're not a gold. You know what the difference between gold diggers are and just average women? Gold diggers give away the game. Gold diggers are saying exactly what he's saying. Gold diggers just make it obvious. I don't think anybody even calls women gold diggers anymore, because pretty much, according to Twitter, and if you're on social media for any amount of time, you kind of get the idea. I mean, we're talking about like, oh, you got to be these guys. It's going to create a real big problem. Why? Well, because you're not economically attractive. You don't have the money. You can't support a family and 20th century. Why would that matter? I thought it was all about love. I thought we were all equal. I thought we should be equal partners, and that should be based on something other than, naked commercialism. What's funny about this whole thing is it's, and at least from my perspective in all of this, is I have this sort of like, bird's eye view of, I'm seeing the forest for the trees here. At least I like to think I am. And really what the frustration is that they're seeing women's human nature, men's nature too, but women's nature. And we're trying to square the circle of, well, it should, we should marry for love, right? We don't want prearranged marriages. How is that any different than a prearranged marriage? Well, I want to find a guy who's economic. Okay, well, the prearrangement then is finding the guy who is economically attractive. I will only want a high value guy. Build our we can build a very profitable, lucrative podcast based on holding women accountable and high value men. Okay. Well, again, the reason why that is popular, the reason why people get off on the indignation that causes, is because it's a conflict between understanding the visceral, evolved, innate nature of women versus the fantasy versus the poetry versus the romantic comedy. That's what it's about. And that's why they cannot square this circle, but they'll try. They will absolutely try.
It's a societal signal that you're able to provide and have a certain type of seriousness is really important.
Who cares? Who cares? Especially in a society that is a degenerate, quote unquote, like the guys who are like checking out anyways would probably agree with this. Who wants to participate in that? Who are you to tell me what my duty is? Because I see every day, courtesy of the internet, that it doesn't pay off. What is it? The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Sorry if that sounds black pill to you, but that's the way that these guys interpret this.
2017 Pew Research data found that 71% of US adults said that being able to support a family financially is very important for a man to be a good partner. Pretty much equal amongst men and women who said that. Only 25% in the other case, for both men and women, said the case was for a female partner. So like it or not, employment and earnings is pretty much tied to our dating and marriage market, if you were to say so.
He doesn't want to call it a market because that dehumanizes it, right? Take away because if you call it a market and you start getting into nuts and bolts, Aaron Clary, thank you very much. You get into nuts and bolts. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a rational, pragmatic decision, not love, not this. I don't know how many times I've said this in the past, but women fall in love for what you are, not who you are. Later on, they might fall in love with who you are, but when you first get involved with that woman, it's who you are. So when we like again, I have to point this out, but when I see stuff like that, I can see the conflict as it happens live in real time. This guy's just agonizing over having to call it that because he can't do that he can't analyze, he can't call out the problem without calling out or without contending with the conflict. And he really probably has no idea that he's dealing with that conflict. Thank you for that $50, my friend. Shark Toes. I would argue that every man needs to read the book, The Virtue of Selfishness by Ayn Rand. But I would like the TOMASSI seal of approval. That is one I have not read. It cleared a lot of things up for me, and your stuff adds to it every time. I recommend that audio version. Okay. Noted. So noted. Thank you, Shark Toes. Shark Toes. Do sharks have toes? Let me keep going here. I want to catch up with just a little bit of this before I continue a little bit further. We're a little bit through this. Yes, exactly. Her money is her money. Her money is her money. Your money is her money. Yes. Thank you very much. That's that. I realize this is like a pithy little aphorism that we joke about, but the truth of this is you're looking at, again, in this joke, old order expectations of him and new order entitlements for her. That's what this is about. In an era of equality, wouldn't it be right to demand from girls freedom from debts, equal income, expensive gifts, paying bills, and purposefully rejecting insolvent girls? Kind of modern standards. Actually, Tom Likas has been talking about that for a very long time. And I do give big ups to Tom Likas. Thank you. I recognize him. I actually recognize him in, I think it was the first or the second book too, but people don't read. They don't like to read. But Tom said that way back in the day that women carry a way bigger debt load than men do. And that's another thing that he's probably, casually avoiding here is that women, especially educated women who have, upper middle class women who went to college, who are now earning 2/3 of the degrees. How many of those degrees do you think those women actually use? And what are those degrees in? If we're gonna call that out and say, oh, but this is a real problem. Okay, give us the whole story. Give us the whole thing. What is this? Found you via Rich Cooper. Oh, good. Thank you for opening my eyes. The last 2 years have been most joyful of the past 25. I didn't think I could survive divorce. I'm thriving. Thank you. Thank you very much for that as well, my friend. Mark, I'm glad you're doing good. I'm glad you could benefit. That's what I always say, right? Thank you for benefiting. I'm glad you could benefit. What else do you got here? By the way, fake Rollo.
Bye, Felicia.
There you go. Bye. They want men in the rat race and rat race of chasing women. Yeah, well, they want you to. They're the old order. By the way, I forget who that was. Sorry, my bad. King Henry. Is that? I think there was a show on Netflix. I thought, or maybe it's a new movie called. Excuse me, called King Henry. Henry. Again, old order for you, new order for her. Essentially, that's what it boils down to. Build yourself up and become a good suitor for her. And now I already called out artificial joy, so I'm gonna click out of that one. But I also had a very old post called "Are You Experienced?" And this also speaks to exactly what he was saying. I wrote "Are You Experienced?" back in, I think it was 2015 or 2016, and there was another rash of articles at that time talking about how men were prolonging their adolescence. They weren't saving enough money. They weren't putting anything away. They weren't preparing themselves for adulthood. And again, what's your duty? What is adulthood? Adulthood is being acceptable and being a good candidate for marriage when a woman needs you. When is that? The epiphany phase, 29 to 31 years old. How do we know that? Because the average age of first marriage is right around 28, 29 for women. That's why. For men, same thing, 20, 29, probably more like 30 now. It conveniently happens right about the time that women need to check out of the marketplace. That's at least to your credit, Cigar. At least you picked up on that. So when women are exiting, that's when they need you to be economically viable. That's when they need you to be dumb, uneducated. They still want you back, stuck in that old order thinking. They still need you there. They need you to be a beta in waiting. They need you to be working on yourself and building yourself up and chasing excellence and doing all that great stuff, but being dumb as a sack of hammers when it comes to intersexual dynamics, when it comes to gynocentrism, when it comes to hypergamy. They need you to be stupid between the age of about 30, 31, somewhere right there, maybe 29, at about that same time. And so, as you were saying, King Henry, yeah, they want men in the rat race of chasing women. Well, yeah, that's usually a motive. It used to be anyways. Another thing I wrote about in book 4 is that the primary reason or the primary incentive to get married, at least prior to the sexual revolution, was that it was access to sex. It was the guy's never going to at least legitimately get laid unless he did exactly what these guys are talking about. What every TradCon still clings to like a security blanket right now. You've got to have responsibility and you've got to build yourself up, and you've got to, from the time that you're 0 to the time that you're 30, when women are ready for you, then you've got to be preparing and being this good little beta and waiting, and, have all your ducks in a row and be economically attractive and everything else, so that she'll choose you when the chips are down and the lights are about to come on at the club in the sexual marketplace. Well, you want to know why guys are checking out? You want to know why they think it's hopeless right now? It's because we're still clinging to that ideal 20th century old order thinking. Well, we got to get married. Married men make more money, not because they're like, oh wow, I'm married. That means I'm a better person. I'm gonna be more incentivized. I'm gonna be, yeah, of course you are. You have to make more money. It's not. Is it causation or is it correlation? I would say it's correlation and not causation. Let's keep going.
In America, which means that our economic conditions as a country determine one of the most important parts of our lives. Acknowledging that reality reveals a terrible reality for a lot of American men. The more and longer that you are a single male, the worse your economic, health, and marriage prospects become. The more likely you are to live with your parents and longer. And the more and longer it happens, the larger the trend amongst the male population is. And thus, the worse outcome for men on a society-wide level continues. Get this, 73% of men without a partner in 2019 were employed. 90% of those who were partnered were employed. 26% of unpartnered have attended college. 37% of partnered have attended college. The same gap exists amongst married Americans. A 4-year college degree right now is the best predictor of whether you're going to get married or not as a man.
Oh, okay. So Again, it all, especially when it comes to TradCons, right? It all boils down to the marriage. Who's going to get married? Marriage is a goal state for these guys. I've been critical of Kevin Samuels in the past, and I am so because, again, he's a guy who uses marriage as a goal state. That the enlightened individual is the one who's married. You're going to be employed if you're married. So do everything in your life to increase your chances of marriage, and then you'll be employed, and then you'll be better off. Sounds like logic. Sounds like, especially deductive male logic. It sounds right. But again, causation or correlation. Are these guys making more money because they're married? Or are they making more money because they have to be making more money if they want to stay married? Otherwise, they're divorced. Otherwise, they don't have it. We can also look at the stats, which I'm sure he's going to ignore here, is that once that woman gets a promotion at work, the incidence of divorce goes up. Correlation, causation, I don't know, but I do know that money, and I do know that the status that comes along with that, or the comparison. Remember what I said? Women love you for what you are, not who you are. If that weren't the case, then we wouldn't see the correlation between a promotion at work with women who, and making more money, a woman making more money, and the incidence of divorce, or the fact that a woman's making more money than a guy in the first place, and she can't find the high value guy who makes more money than she does. It shouldn't matter, right? We're equal partners. It's all that blank slate shit again. It's all this social constructionism again. It shouldn't matter. Women are, I've seen this, I know that I'm trying not to be unfair here, but I do know that Dr. Warren Farrell has talked about this as well. It's like, women need to adjust their attraction scales for guys who are losers. Essentially, that's what it comes down to. Now, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth or whatever, because I've heard this from other people as well. A great one, Brett Weinstein, for example, is, well, we're going to have to rise above this as human beings and rise above our innate natures. And women are going to have to settle for guys who make less money than them. It's statistically, even Cigar can't really disagree with that. Ladies, you're going to have to convince yourself. Like, why are there no videos like the first one? Why are there no videos trying to convince women that they need to settle for less? Why? Well, because if we're all these emotional beings and we're evolved beyond our innate evolutionary impulses and incentives, then why is there not a campaign to socialize women into believing that they should be going out with cheap ass broke dudes? Why? Because that's what we're expecting. So it's either this. It's incumbent upon men as a burden of performance to build themselves up and be acceptable for marriage, and be acceptable for a marriage, by the way, which is still an unconscionable contract in the United States for sure. Men don't want to get married. I mean, he's going to completely ignore that. Why are guys avoiding marriage? Maybe because all arrows point to stay away. Don't get into that contract. What's in it for them? They can get sex outside of marriage and have been able to do so since the sexual revolution. That's number one. Second of all, we see women between the ages of 18 and 28 saying, you know what? I'm going to go get mine with chocolate sprinkles on top, because there's going to be some chump right around 28, 29, 30, even what is it? CEO of Facebook, man. What's her name? Sandbergian hypergamy, man. Date the bad boys and the fun boys and the bad for you boys and the commitment phobic boys, but don't worry. Don't marry those guys. Wait until the lights in the club come on, but in your epiphany phase, get right with God. Find a dude who's willing to jump through the hoops and obey the rules that you make for him, because in time, nothing is sexier. I'm paraphrasing, but that's more or less what she was saying in that quote in her book, Lean In, from 2014, by the way. So what about that, Cigar? What about that stuff? What about the idea that marriage is probably one of the worst all downside risks that a guy can take these days? Oh, you'll make more money. Well, you'll be busting your ass because you have to. Well, you need to be prepared for it. Well, the other one of the other things that he's probably kind of casually avoiding here is that marriage is for elite men. It's got to be for elite men. It's got to be for guys who went to college. In fact, if you go and you look at the marriage rates, which I had to do a lot of research for book 4, you'll discover that most guys who are getting married, and marriage, by the way, is at an all-time low. It's at 6.1 per 1,000. 6.1, as low as it has been since they started keeping track of marriage rates and divorce rates and stuff. As low as it has ever been. Is that because women do? Well, all these men are they're just low quality, and women can't. Men need to man up and be more responsible and make more money and be better. Yeah, they do, but not for that reason. Not for that reason. Not for 20th century reasons. Because the incentive to get married used to be based on men's provisioning capacity, and it is no longer about that. Certainly not between the ages of 18 and 28. Very much about it once you hit like 29, 30, 31 years old for a while. Yeah, the priorities switch. But that's not the case here.
Pair that with what I opened this segment with. Are you beginning to see a problem? We have a society, particularly an elite, sets the tone for the entire nation, and it places an emphasis on college. Men are dropping out of college and are becoming more likely not even to try and go in the first place.
Not even going.
This is going to widen the income gap. The less money that you make, the less likely you are to attract a partner. And so we go. All of this.
So attracting a partner is about the money you have in the bank. Guys, just letting you know, lead with your wallet, right? So if that's the case, why wouldn't I just pay for sex? Why not just buy box, man? That's a very popular theme in the manosphere lately. Why not just do that? Because then I can get the sex that I could have got had I been a good provider prior to the sexual revolution, and I needed to be married to get to. I don't need to do that anymore. And essentially what he's saying is, yeah, it's about the money. Yeah, it's about the bag. It's about the paper. And women are making their own paper. Well, is that a guy problem or is that a girl problem? Is that a societal problem? Is that an equal partnership problem? Where's the problem with that? Why are marriage rates so low as they are right now? Not going to cover that. We're not going to talk about women. We're only going to talk about guys need to man up. Man up and marry those sluts. That's Dalrock, by the way. DALROCK. Dalrock at .wordpress.com. That's people enunciate Dalrock. I will. So again, it's old order beliefs. It's 20th century beliefs. It's old order thinking, believing that it has any relevancy in the 21st century. 21 years into the 21st century. Wake up. Wake up now. These guys don't have your best interests in mind. We can complain about it. We can get eyes on the screen for this kind of stuff, but nobody wants to solve the problem. In fact, it's in their best interest that they don't solve the problem. That's what gets advertising dollars. You want to talk about jobs and everything? Yes, we've completely deindustrialized. We've taken away jobs from men. Yes, there is an economic aspect to this as well. And I know people are going to bring that up, so I'm going to head you off the path right now. Yes. There's a socioeconomic problem with raising women up into the workforce. You want to solve this problem? Limit women in the workforce and encourage male hiring in the workforce. That's how you can solve a direct, easy way to solve it. You're never going to see this. You'll never see this legislation pass the Congress or the Senate. This will never happen in a million years. What I think would be even better than repeal the 19th. That ain't going to happen. But you know what would be better? Put quotas, hiring. We were already talking about hiring quotas in California, right? You got to have an equal number of men and women. No, actually, there's a lot more women being hired than there are men for those top jobs because we think that we need to put them into like Fortune 500 companies. Well, it's all based on the apex fallacy. But those quotas are there. You want to put you want to change the job prospects. Put quotas on men, hiring men. Putting qualified individuals into those positions rather than making them based on gender or whatever else. You want to encourage men to go to school to get those things, and say, hey, you know what? We got a lot of openings, but we can't have any women. We've got too many women. We need men. That would be a step in the right direction, and I would say it would probably be a more significant, more actionable step than some fantasy of repealing the 19th.
Has massive cultural ramifications. Take a look at China's male imbalance and video game bans right now to see what happens when weird imbalances cause really strange social pathologies. But I think that the one thing that gives me hope is this. None of this is inevitable. It's not like China, where they literally banned having more children. Instead, all of this seems to be the result of economic conditions. And in fact, within the Pew data, there is evidence that when male wages begin to rise, partnership rises, which in turn spins the hamster wheel of all the benefits that comes with that in the right direction. Now,
And what are the benefits? What are those benefits? Sex? Because prior to the sexual revolution, when it was based on a man's burden of performance and the provisioning side of hypergamy, yeah, you might have been correct. Today, all that is gold digging, for lack of a better word. It's opportunism. I want a guy who's economically attractive, which, again, he doesn't understand the dualistic nature of women's hypergamy. I should really be talking about this with like Robert Kiyosaki and George Gammon, because this is really where the rubber meets the road. You want to know why you want to know where the smart money is in the future? It's understanding this right here. If you're going to be at George Gammon's Rebel Capitalist in January, such as a lot, just like me, because I got invited, I'm going to go again. That's what should be. That's what needs to be discussed. You want to know how to make. You want to know why Morgan Stanley's talking. Running things like Rise of the She Economy. That's why. That's why we're going with this, because they're finally acknowledging that it's not about love and respect and equal partnerships. It's about money. And for what? And what's the benefits? You notice how he just glosses up. What's the benefits? What do I get from that? What do I get from my investment in making myself marriageable? Spending 30 years of my life going to law school and going to, becoming a surgeon, making the most and the best of myself and chasing excellence. What's the benefit? What do I get out of that? I can get sex. Shit, half of these guys are paying for it anyways. Half of these guys are like, well, half of these guys, but why is OnlyFans a big deal? Well, those women are entrepreneurs. No, they're not. They're playing on that guy's need for sex and companionship and everything else. Well, when you put a dollar amount on that, just like OnlyFans does, then the game is up. The jig is up, my friend. So it's not about that? No, it's not. Oh, we need to have strong. We do. And here's where I'm going to agree with most TradCons. Yes, family creation is very important, but we need to reimagine how we're going to do that, or we need to find some way to encourage that. You want to talk about like, oh, well, all these benefits that you get from being married. What? Hypertension from working harder so I can make all that more money?
Told you I wouldn't give you any answers, but I can't resist just one, pointing you in this direction. In 2017, David Otter over at Harvard University, he found that declining male wages as a result of departing manufacturing jobs led to increased unpartnered men, lower fertility rates, less rates of marriage, which in turn lead to worse health and income outcomes for almost everybody in our society. So if you want to live in a healthy, prosperous, stable country for years to come, solving this problem seems to be one of the key things that you can do. And the lucky thing is maybe we can do something about it. Problems of the soul are up in the air. A problem of jobs, well, at least we can try and figure it out together. So that's pretty interesting, isn't it, Marshall? That it's a causal direction in both.
Hey guys, thanks so much.
All right, so that's that for that one. Let me pull this out of there. I got to show you that. I've got to put this into the mix here. So give me 1 second. I'm going to put this in the brands here. Grab this overlay. Where did that go? Okay, here it is. So this is from UberFacts. I've used this. Actually, I think I used this data and used this before. Worldwide, females earn $18 trillion, but they spend $28 trillion. That's number one. Actually, that's not the data I was looking for. You're not the data I was looking for. There's another UberFacts. Where'd the other UberFacts go? I have it here somewhere. Actually, I think that's probably some pretty good data right there as well. There it is. Here it is. Got it right here. This is actually, it wasn't UberFacts. It was something else. Where'd that go? Here we go. Let me add that in. This is the student debt. And this is from an article. I'll see if I can dig up the, the actual link for this for you guys later on. But this was from an article not too long ago, 2020. Why American women hold 2/3 of the student debt. And I like this stat because they led with this. Americans carry an estimated $1.5 trillion in student debt, and nearly 2/3 of that amount, or $929 billion, is held by women. That which so if you wonder why guys are earning so much money after marriage, it's probably to pay off that fucking debt. That's why. So, maybe some things to think about before you start, popping off about responsibility this and responsibility that. My next video is going to be more about the guys dropping out. I think the thing that sort of brought me to today's topic was the idea, or I think it was that Wall Street Journal article that he mentioned, that Sagar, I hope I'm saying his name right. I think it sounds like cigar. But that Wall Street Journal article, which has been making the rounds actually. So I have to kind of throw that in there a little bit, because there's been a lot of other things that have been, a lot of other articles as well. Like I think I mentioned this earlier on, which is the first things first. It's called, actually, I'll just throw this on there real quick. It's called America's Lost Boys. And this is really where it sort of, I think it came from anyways. Let's share this screen. Where'd it go? There it is. So here it is right here. You guys see that? Let me pull myself down a little bit. All right. This is America's Lost Boys. This is from August 2nd of 2016. So just to give you guys a sort of a context as to how long we've been having this discussion. And I'll just read the first couple of paragraphs here. It says, where have America's young men gone? According to Eric Hurst, an economist from the University of Chicago, they haven't gone anywhere. They're just plugged in to their escapes, probably. In a recent interview, Hurst said that his research indicates that young men with less than a 4-year degree, according to virtually all data, that's an increasing number, are spending their days unemployed and unmarried, but not unamused. Better seen that? Was somebody suggested I read, or what was it? Amusing ourselves to death. I think that's what it was. The hours that they are not working have been replaced almost 1-for-1 with leisure time. Hurst reports 75% of the new leisure time falls into one category: video games. As I said, it would be something else if it wasn't that. The average low-skilled unemployed man, in this group plays video games an average of 12 and sometimes upward of 30 hours per week. That's almost like that's at least a part-time job if you think about it. Hurst goes on. The individuals are living with parents and relatives, and happiness surveys actually indicate that they are quite contented, or quite content compared to their peers, making it hard to argue that some sort of constraint, such as that they are miserable because they can't find jobs, is causing them to play video games. In other words, the time these young men spend on Xbox and PlayStation does not offer them the relief from the stress of joblessness and existential inertia. Boy, I love that term, existential inertia. I wish I would have remembered that when I was doing that show with Sterling and on the Rock, the Tahoe show. On the contrary, for them, it's part of living the dream. Video games have often caused consternation amongst older adults and cultural critics, and angst that is usually disproportionate to the game's real consequences. In most cases, gaming is not especially different from other amusements, such as watching Netflix or logging on to social media. Concern about video game content, especially violent content, can be valid, but it always runs to the problem of numbers. A great many gamers play Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, you could tell this was back in 2016, right? And violent crime has been going down at the same time those games have been popular. You know what else has gone down in that time as well? Let's just say sexual assault. I think that can get away with saying that. Let's just say that. Well, as a result of free, ubiquitous 4K online streaming pornography. We don't like to make those comparisons. We don't want to make. But okay, so the reason I brought that up, and I'll give you the. Actually, let me go grab that real quick. I'll give you the link right here. just because I'm cool like that. And I'll put it in the chat so you guys can have it. This is the America's Lost Boys one. This is from, like I said, it's from 2016. So it's showing its age, I think, a little bit, but that might help you out. I'll put it in the description later on too. So America's Lost Boys, right? We've been talking about this for quite some time, but we haven't solved this. We haven't solved all this. And all that man up stuff. Men are weak. What? I'm sure you've heard this, right? What is it? Weak men cause bad times, and bad times creates weak men, or creates strong men, and strong men create good times, and good times creates weak men, and weak men create hard times, and blah, blah, blah. We keep going through the cycle. Where are we at right now? Well, we're in the weak men and bad times stage of that. Well, okay, great. How do we get to the strong men side? Take responsibility and use all that responsibility that we used to have in times past, and maybe we'll go back to where we were. Great. What's my incentive? Marriage? I'm holding women accountable because I want them to realize that they can't get a high value man. Clearly, I mean, Sagar even talked about this. We can't get a high value man, so men need to man up and become more high value. Okay, why? So they can get married and get those babies going and have this family, have families and start a strong community and everything else. Great. Why? Nobody wants to talk about nobody wants to talk about marriage being an unconscionable contract. Nobody wants to look at the fine print and all of this. That's why I have like I said, I don't have many problems with a guy like Kevin Samuels. One thing I do is that all roads lead to marriage. Well, if that's off a cliff, then all accountability in the world means fuck all. It means nothing. If I'm okay, what's the end state? What's the goal state? When am I going to be happy? When am I going to be content? Well, build your life up and become a high value man, or I don't know, in whatever context that is to you. And then once you get to that point, then a woman will find you acceptable so that you can sign the unconscionable contract. Isn't that great? Awesome. No, it's not great. We have to look at the system. We have to reimagine the system. But as long as there's guys like this, as long as there's I don't want to be too hard on Sagar because I don't know him personally and I don't know what he's all about. But as long as there are guys who are telling you, the best way to do this, the best way to go white pill, the best way to go black pill, the best way to go this pill or that pill, whatever, God pill, that pill, trad pill, this pill, is to man up and marry those sluts. You're going to tell me that? I'm not going to listen to you. You're going to tell me all roads lead to marriage, the unconscionable contract. And yes, I have a very successful 25-year marriage. But again, as I keep telling you guys, were I to find myself single tomorrow, I would never get married again, because the contract is not what it was. Certainly, I'm not saying I did it right when it happened, because it was, marriage in a post-sexual revolution Western society has become to the point where we're at right now, where it is an unconscionable contract, meaning that if you were to be presented with that in a business sense, or like the mafia wanted you to sign this contract, you go, whoa, unless you're under duress or with a gun to your head, you probably wouldn't do it, because the stipulations in the contract is such that no one in their right mind would ever sign that contract. Look at the divorce stats. Well, divorce is going down. Yeah, because marriage has gone down. Well, we need to build a stronger society. Okay, great. What are the incentives for that? What's the rewards? What's the system? Show me the project. But nobody has that. Their project, their solution is more responsibility. Responsible. Men need to be more responsible. And they do. They need to unplug. They do need to get away from those escapes. They need to make their lives worth living. They need to make their real lives a better life to live than the lives that they're living, quote unquote lives, their virtual lives that they're living in their escapes. And again, that could be video games, that could be porn, it could be OnlyFans, it could be waifu, whatever the hell it is. I don't know why. I'm not just saying this is a Western society problem, it's other problems as well. Or other countries, other ethnicities, other whatever have similar problems, right? We're looking, why is it that China is trying to remasculinize their male population? Why is it that they're, like he even mentioned this, why is it that they're, they don't want girly men anymore? They don't want movies that promote that. Imagine that. Imagine me. Here, Sagar, why don't you do this? Let's do it. It's working for the Chinese. Let's work. How about we do it in America? How about we go to Netflix, or we create legislation that says you're not allowed to do a series like You. You're not allowed to do a series like The Maid that promotes the idea of evil, bad men. You're not allowed to do that. You're only allowed to do superhero movies where it's a strong male, masculine lead. What would that do? What if you told stories like, if we get back to telling stories like that instead of turning Superman gay? If we did that, if we said, no, comic book guys, no, sorry, you can't do that. You're not doing that story now. We're going to limit you from doing that. Hey, we're gonna limit your right to free speech as it is, anyways. For whatever reason, for this ideology or this meme to overshadow that meme. Guess what? If that's the case, then we're gonna say, you know what? No gay Superboy or what? I realize it's his son. Okay, don't give me the Superman versus Tarzan crap. Okay, I get it. The message is this, right? It's effeminate guys. It's the vulnerability grift. It's the emotional stuff. It's the get in touch with your feminine side. It's we need more strong female leads crap that we've been hearing since 1970. Still to this day. Well, we don't have enough strong female leads. We need what was it? Somebody I just saw this. Is it Amazon? Maybe it is. Amazon Prime, I think, is doing this. Who has Lord of the Rings? The new. I think it's Amazon. I'm pretty sure it's Amazon Prime has this. But Lord of the Rings is going to have more multicultural characters, and they're going to have, gay hobbits and more strong female leads. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what we need. Imagine if we made a societal message, if the narrative shifted to something like, okay, no more girly men like China is. What if we said that? What if we said, okay, you know what? No more video games for our young men. How would that change society? Is the video? Would guys just find something else? We say, oh, you know what? Your life can be better if you live it rather than living it virtually. Take away the appeal of your escape rather than just say, I think one of the things that maybe China is getting a little bit wrong is they're saying, well, we got to limit video games for young boys, and their hours playing video games has to be curtailed. Okay, I see why they do that, particularly for population, because they got a lot of population. But what if you could make it so that guys wouldn't want to? What if there was something? What if there's an incentive for men, young men, boys, maybe, teenage guys? What if there was an incentive that says, you know what? It's better to play this game. It's better to go out and do sports. It's better to do these things. It's better to read a book. It's better to whatever it is. I don't know. It's better to, if you find some way to incentivize that, you wouldn't have to say, oh, you can't play Call of Duty, right? You can't play whatever your favorite game. What's big right now? I don't even know what's a good game right now. The only way I know about video games, by the way, is because Razor Fist always shits on all these games. And so then I'll go, yeah, this game is woke. Okay, all I'm looking at is woke games. So you'll have to Call of Duty, is that what it is? Yeah. Maybe there's a new one. Who knows? Call of Duty mobile. Is there a mobile? Is there a mobile game? I like strategy games. People ask me if I play video games. I'm not into first person shooters. I get queasy. I can't play first person, third person shooters because it's kind of like, I know maybe it's because I have astigmatism or something, but when I'm when those games are going around, it just, it makes me like nauseous. And I think it's just because I'm, you're virtually doing this kind of thing. Overwatch, is that a big deal? I don't know. Let me back up a little bit before I get on to video number 2 here. And these are going to be short ones too, by the way. And I'm trying to be as concise as I can today. But I promise I'll get to the point. Let's see. Channel 1800 Dumb. Hi again. Saying hi to Rollo. Hi right back at you, brother. Play guitar for you. Okay, let's halt everything. Stop the show. I was thinking about doing that. I was actually thinking about doing some, because I've got my rehearsal studio, which is about 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from where this studio is. And I was thinking about doing some, people ask me to do reels, just playing guitar or whatever like that. All right, you really want me to? And then I also saw this, and sort of more to that point is when I did the mountaintop video with Sterling and Justin, I've always been a little hesitant to do on location videos like that. Not because I don't think it would be cool and fun. It's like, what am I doing out here in the middle of the woods, like talking to you about red pill stuff? It seems to me like almost like a lifestyle flex, and I've never been about that. I want to give you guys good content. I'm not, it's not that I'm above red meat. I am, but I'm not the guy who's going to give you a red pill video from the hood of my Lamborghini or from my very expensive snowmobile. I guess in this case, how I choose to spend my money is different than other people. Let's just say that. But it seems like a flex to me, but people like that. They really like that on location thing. And by the way, there is a second video that is coming up that we shot in the Tahoe Keys during Sterling and Justin's visit 2 weeks. Yeah, now I guess it's 2 weeks ago. And so that's coming up on Wednesday as well. I think you guys will really enjoy that. It's very much to the same point that we've been talking about here. Let me keep going back. One man's chorus. I can't see around this boom mic. I need a new boom. Okay, so he gave me a continuing one. He says, we, your fans, all know masculinity, what masculinity is. The concept has been analyzed to death. What is not explored is how masculinity develops in a man from boyhood. To the extent that there is an analysis, it's motivated by a crude biological determinism that says masculinity equals testosterone. Basically, some men just lucked out in puberty. Okay, so this is the biological determinism side of things. And I understand why sort of looks maxers love this. Well, you're either born sexy or you're not. There's nothing you can do about it. You know, you're either born an extrovert or you're not. Okay. First of all, that's bullshit. Okay. Second of all, there's a lot more to it than just that. I'm not saying that looks aren't important. They are, but it's not you might. Okay. If that's what you believe, if that's what you believe, then why are you even here? Why are you watching this? Why are you giving me $10 super? I'm not coming down on you. Other guys do this to me as well. Why are you here? Why don't you just, why haven't you just decided that you're going to go live in the mountains, somewhere? Why are you, if you've really truly given up, what's incentivized you to come and do all this? Right. I'm not going to give you the more obvious answer, which is, why don't you just quit life in general? Why don't you just delete yourself? Right. They're not going to do that. And you're not going to do that because some small part of you thinks that things can get better. Even if you're living in your escape, even if you're living in your virtual world, some part of you still thinks that in this world, in whatever your virtual reality is that things can be better. Plug myself. I'm Cypher. Plug me back into the Matrix. But even in the Matrix, you still have that belief that things can be better. The problem with that one man's chorus is that the truth. You know women's nature. You know men's nature. You are red pill aware. You see this going around from not just from an interpersonal level, but to a societal level, to a political level, to a global level. The red pill is not just about getting laid. Is not just about how do I get the girls. There's so much more to intersexual dynamics, and people ask me all this time. They've said this. I've got this over the years. They say, Rollo, you've said everything. You've wrote all these books. Blah 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 blah. What's left? You've written it all. No, I haven't, because it's so broad. There's so many different fields. There's so many different sub disciplines. I'm never going to run out of material. You guys won't. Hell, you guys keep, these guys especially, keep coming back to the same thing. They keep coming back. It comes in cycles. Trust me, come November, we're going to do it. We're going to do the no-fap thing. We're going to be semen retention. It's going to come back. Trust me, November 1st, November 2nd, whatever, look on Twitter. There it is, staring you right in the face. And when is International Men's Day? I think it's in November. Is it November 17th? For what? I don't know why. That's going to come around. Guess what's going to happen then? You're going to see chumps like this who are going to, not you, no, that's course, but like the guy, like you're going to see Dr. Robert Glover. You're going to see guys from The Roommates. You're going to see, you can see all these guys who have been sort of jumping in on this, like, oh, men need to man up and be more responsible, and we need good fathers in the home, and we need guys who are involved. You're going to hear all of that gynocentrically beneficial messaging will get attached to Men's Day. I say this every single year, every time. Whoop, let's go right back again, because nothing gets done. Nobody does anything. There's no program, there's no progress, there's no push forward. It's all the same bullshit complaining. And if we can attach a female-centric messaging to, oh, men should be thinking about being men today. If we can do it, we will. Father's Day, they'll do the same damn thing. International Women's Day, well, you bet your sweet ass they're going to do it then too. But if there's the only time we celebrate masculinity in a gynocentric social, but in the media, is when that masculinity is feminine. When that masculinity mirrors the being a more correct, more perfect man means being more feminine. Just like what John Bernthal, right? Just like these guys in the beginning here. Look at yourself and be ashamed of yourself. Gaslight yourself into hate, self-loathing for being a guy. Those guys are not going to help you find a fucking purpose. They are obstacles masquerading as people. White pill guys, you're on the same fucking boat. Exactly the same fucking boat. Oh, you owe me an apology. Fuck you. I don't owe you a goddamn thing. You guys misquote me. That's why you're a fucking obstacle. You guys are exactly the problem that every one of these guys that I'm going to show today, every one of these guys is today. You're just just embedded in this right now. Like I said, it's straight edge for the black pill. Like, do you guys remember? Anybody remember what straight edge is? Straight edge was a punk rock movement back in the day, and it was like, okay, we didn't drink, we didn't have sex before marriage, and you had to like put a little. You guys should do this, white pill guys. Here's a suggestion. You really want to increase your brand? Get guys to put like that little X over their hands, so they don't jerk off, or they don't drink, or they don't smoke weed, or whatever else. Put a little X over your hand, like the straight edge movement did back in like the early '80s from the punk scene. Do that. Bring that back. That would be cool. Because that's all it really is. 20th century old order thinking that you think is going to be the solution for all of this. Nobody owes you shit. Nobody owes you apology. Your guys are an obstacle to men's progress. That's what you are. I'm not saying you're responsible for their suicides or anything like that. I didn't say that. You guys, again, putting words in my mouth once again. You are obstacles to people's progress. That's what you are. Maybe in some cases, that means that they're going to get despondent. Maybe in some cases, they get confused. But as long as you're mischaracterizing what I've said for the last really almost 20 years, but certainly from the book, as long as you're mischaracterizing that, you are an obstacle. You are an impediment to men's progress. You are an impediment to your stated goal is so guys can move the red pill along and be more positive and do that. Okay, great. But you're not doing that by straw manning my work. You're not doing that by making your entire channel about takedown videos. You're not doing that. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Are you going to a mountaintop in Tahoe and talking about this stuff with other guys? Are you forming tribes? Are you doing something positive for these guys? Because I don't fucking see it. All I see is takedown videos. All I see is infighting. All I see is bullshit. That's what I see. You owe me a debate. Fuck you. Nobody owes you shit. You talk about go do the work and be a better person, then go do it yourself. Please get off my fucking ass and go do it yourself. What have you created? What have you done in the last 10 years? In 2005, you know what I was doing? This same thing, talking about this, writing about this, having the conversations on SoSwap. What was I doing in 2011? Or I brought my blog online 10 years ago. What were you doing 10 years ago? You're probably in fucking middle school. I think. I don't know how old you are. You're sort of like, what, were you 12? I don't know. Maybe you're 15. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. What were you doing? You weren't doing this. Like, what brought you into this in the first place? How did you even arrive in all of this? Nobody knows because you never done a video about that. You never talked about this shit. You don't. And so until that happens, don't even fucking at me, bro. Let me see. Red John, just sending my appreciation. Thank you for that 20 pounds, British pounds. Unplug. Okay, you are welcome, my friend. Ishmaster. Me, 31, single, no kids. Work all week. Oh, God damn it. Hang on one second. Work all week. No extra cash to go out and approach girls on the weekends. ROI is terrible. Check out of game and try to get CDL. CDL. Well, if you think that it's all about money, then you need to reassess your position here. Okay. A lot of guys, okay, is that your duty? I'm not saying that going out and approaching is your duty. Don't misquote me here and don't misunderstand me here, because don't put me in the same category as guys who are saying, oh, it should be your masculine duty to do these things. You go and you look at guys like, you go look at the people on Daily Wire, you look at Candace Owens, you look at especially TradCons. If you look at any TradCon, it's like your duty is to make yourself as acceptable economically and masculine man-wise as possible so you can get married. And again, if all roads lead to marriage, then I've got a problem with that, yes. But I'm not saying you have to go out and approach. I'm not saying you have to go do that. I'm writing a book on game, yes, but I'm not saying that that's something that's your masculine duty. You say a real man does this. No, nobody's saying that. And I don't think that's what you're saying, but a lot of what guys want to check out because they'll find reasons why they shouldn't be. They'll find reasons why they shouldn't be in the game. They'll find reasons why they don't say do the work, right? But they'll find reasons. It's not even so much like do the work. It's find the incentive. A lot of guys criticize Rich for talking about, become the best version of yourself and do the work and chase excellence, right? There's nothing wrong with that message. That's fine, but you got to be incentivized to want to do that in the first place. Why do you want to chase excellence? What is it about you? What are your strengths? What are your talents? What did God give you, right? Are you artistic? Are you good with finances? Are you a strategic genius? Should you be in the military? I don't know. Only you guys can answer that. Oh, how come Rollo doesn't give us a 12-step to a perfect life? That's why, because I ain't you. You got to do that yourself, but you got to have an incentive to want to do that. What would you do if you didn't get paid for it? Like, what would you do? I think I had that conversation. I had the conversation with Sterling and Justin. What would you do if you didn't get it? I didn't do this online. I think we were at dinner, and I asked him, I said, what would you do if you weren't getting paid for it? We were having a conversation. I think it was about like the hustle economy and doing this, right? Being an author, doing podcasts, whatever the hell it is, or whatever, why are you online? Why should people care about what you have to say? Right. Well, some guys get into a position where they can't stop doing it. They can't stop being that persona. They're all brand all the time. I never want that. I always want to be able to play my music, do my art over here. Well, you guys can't see the studio. Talk to you guys. I don't do this because I want to be a YouTuber. It's nice to have by the way, it's nice to have the 100,000 silver plaque. That's cool. But my reason for doing this is to get engagement, to get feedback from you guys. So you guys feel like I'm connected to you so that we have some conversation. I've always said that. I didn't even want to do a blog in the beginning because I really liked the conversation and the interactiveness that I was getting, the back and forth I was getting from SoSwap forums, because it was a conversation. I didn't think about that. Let's talk about that. You want to know where a lot of the ideas and a lot of sort of like the blog posts and the essays that are found their way into the Rational Male, where they were codified and they were kind of heated up and developed and molded and cooked, I guess, was in conversation. It's not, people say, oh, you didn't come up with, yeah, I didn't come up with all of this. You know where it came up? It was myself and other people having conversation and having engagement together. And that is the most vital, important thing I can think of, particularly for guys right now. You want to know why people like guys are so disconnected and they retreat to their escapes is because they don't have communication. They don't even know how to relate with other guys. That's something that Cigar is never going to be able to tell you. Well, why are guys dropping out? Well, because if they get together and they even give you the hint of like guys coming together to talk about things, unless they're acting like women, unless it's a coffee clatch, unless it's like a men's group where we have psychotherapy and we all learn how we can be better women, unless that's the case, then it's misogynistic. And oh boy, we better keep these guys apart, because if they don't, then they're going to turn into the guys that were in the beginning video. They're all going to be potential bad men. And we can't have them all getting together and being a collection of bad men, because that would make things even worse. You want to know why people hate the red? Like socially, let's say pop cultural. Culturally, why people hate the red pill as a sort of a cultural entity is because exactly that. It's guys gathering together to compare notes. Well, what will they do if they do that? What will these, maybe they're all dark triad. They're all trying to get girls. Oh my God. That's misogynistic. How dare they get together? You want to know how the red pill came about? It's because guys got together and compared notes. It's an aggregate of men's information. If they can keep you guys apart, if they keep you from talking, keep you isolated in your COVID cells. Yeah, of course. They don't want you talking. They don't want you comparing notes. They don't want you to go, you know what? I've noticed that women are like this. Really? I have too. Me too. Where are you from? I'm from all these different places all over the world. Oh, well, maybe we can actually come up with sort of a universal maybe a universal understanding of female nature. Sound like the red pill to you? Because it does to me. Anyways, don't call me angry. I'm not angry. I'm just calling what I see, man. You know what's funny? It's like, I'm going to say this here. Anyways, Settle Calm. I did not see your post. I'm going to answer it now. Here it is. You said I'm 18 and I read circles around women my age because of you. Thank you, Rollo. You are welcome. Sounds like you're building something, and please see that you do. I would very much like to see. You're 18 now. Show me what you built when you're 20. Come back into. Well, I don't say come back, but please keep coming back. But like, show me what you've done in the next 2 years. I think that will be a really good epiphany for other people. ML, totally agree. Okay, I got to that. Reddish dad bod. Really, dude? You realize I'm going to read your names, right? Off topic, any idea why the choices of colors? Why red? Why not brown? Why blue? Why not green? Choices of colors. What, you mean the background color? This background color? I thought blue looked pretty good. I don't have brown. Ideas of choice of colors. You mean, I don't know what you mean. I like blue because I can actually turn these like whatever color. I was toying with the idea of purple, but it was just, you just can't do it. Sam Whiskey, I got to you. AI Mark. I got to you. Rollo, you're a freaking genius. Thank you very much, Alex Wright. And I think I have got all the way. Rollo, I love you. I love you too, man. Love you. I love you too. Rollo solved the woman question for me. And what was the answer? I'm almost afraid to ask. Rollo in rare form. I'm not in rare form, man. Gosh, I hold on a second. B Shred, your books changed my life in my 20s. Thank you, Godfather. Do a live stream of playing guitar. A full live stream? I wonder if I could do that. I probably could. I have to run it through my Helix to do it, but yeah, I could. You know, I play it. I have the okay. So this is an Ibanez. I have the Destroyer that's up on this wall right here. Those are my only two Ibanez, I think. I want to get an Iceman, but I also seen that they have an Iceman body that is a hybrid between an Iceman body and a Destroyer body. And if you know what guitars I'm talking about, it's kind of cool. I'm actually thinking about building a guitar. Preach it, Rollo. Thank you. Renegade Shoe says Scorched Earth Rollo shows up today. Yeah, well, I'm getting a little tired about the BS. I play nothing but Randall amps. Thank you very much, Angel. Mostly, I've all Randall hardware, and then I've got the Satan amp. I have the Scott Ian what is it, Ultimate Rectifier. That's my main rig, and then I also have a Bugera Tri-Rec as well. That's sort of my backup rig. Sometimes I run it as a preamp. So that's that. Anyways, I know people are going to say, oh, he's raving mad. Look, he's foaming at the mouth. Like, here's the thing. It's like when you get pissed off, when you get angry, it's one thing to be angry and like sort of like unhinged. It's another thing to have like sort of like righteous anger. Like people are okay with righteous anger. They're just not, unless it's directed at them, right? But yeah. What do you say? Let me see. Hit dogs holler. You being triggered by such a small creator proves some of their points were on target. Insults from the homeless don't bother me. Well, whatever. People told me that too. You know, it's funny. When I did that one show on Alex from Playing with Fire, people, man, it really pissed off a lot of those guys, and I'm kind of glad it did. But sometimes you have to make examples of these guys, particularly when they are doing you a disservice. They're doing all these guys, every one of these guys that we're talking, we can complain until we're blue in the face about the Lost Boys and how they need to man up, and it's bros before homes, right? And men are just prolonging their adolescence. We can talk about it. We've been talking about this fucking problem from at least 2016, because that was that one article I just read to you, but it's actually been before that. The Hannah Rosen article is really where I wrote an essay about it, but it's the essay in the Atlantic by Hannah Rosen was called The End of Men. And then there was a book that came out by Hannah Rosen that was based on that. And that was in 2010. It was predicting everything that you're seeing right now. But yet we're still complaining. We just still don't understand that it's old order thinking. And you know what? As long as you are misquoting me, as long as you're putting words in my mouth, as long as you are being a deliberate obstacle to people understanding this stuff and being a deliberate obstacle to their improvement, whatever that means to them, then yeah, I'm going to get pissed off at that. Sorry, not sorry. Read the fucking book. I will show you exactly where they are like misquoting me. I will show you exactly where they are, well, you shouldn't give these small-time creators. No, I shouldn't, but there's enough of these guys who will do that. And there's enough of these guys who will take that and the idea that, the most common one is this, right? And this was from, I never got to this in the Playing with Fire video, but was it Iron Rule TOMASSI number 6? And of course they hit the iron rules because that gives them something tangible. Oh, there's 9 of these. Let's hit 9. Let's go. It's step by step because that's easy. They don't want to talk about the alpha widows. They don't want to talk about war brides. They don't want to talk about the soulmate myth. No, they don't talk about those things because they can't really wrap their heads around it. They can't find a way to find some sort of bullshit way to criticize that stuff. They don't talk about that stuff. They don't talk about dynamics of power. They don't talk about any of the other shit. You know what they fixate on? They fixate on the 9 iron rules because that's easy. That's great. So that's 8th grade reading level. That's why they fixate on those. But the one that they fixate on the most, I think, is really number 6, which is women fundamentally lack the ability to love a man in the way that a man expects that she should be able to love him. That's the full quote. That's the full iron rule. Number 6, go look it up. They're for free on my site. You can find them in the year 1, best of year 1. All of them are listed there. Why do they misquote that one? In fact, it's not even them that's misquoting. They're off the hook in this one. It's usually guys who are in the black pill. It's usually guys who are despondent. It's usually guys who can't cross the abyss. Rollo said that women can't love you. That's not what I said. And it's been not what I've said since really the mid-2000s, but since I published the book, since I came up with that rule, iron rule. Again, it's not here, follow these rules and you have a great life. No, it's more like 48 laws of power. Know these things. Use them if you want or don't use them. I don't care. These are things they're principles or concepts to keep in mind. They're not going to benefit your life. Oh, I hope they do, but that's not the intent of them. But that's misquoted so many times. And I have become very tired of having to recover that ground or go back over that. Or hypergamy. Hypergamy means that if she finds someone better, then they're going to go after that guy. Bull. No. Why do I keep saying hypergamy is not a straitjacket? Because I misquoted all the fucking time about that. That's why. Hypergamy, he said hypergamy doesn't care. So I'm doomed, like the guy who was just here a minute ago, right? Why would I bother? I'm 31. I'm never going to get married, blah, blah, blah. I'm just giving up because hypergamy. Because hypergamy. It's not what I said. Stop putting words in my mouth. Stop misrepresenting me so that you can so that you can build your brand of me. That's what it comes down to. You're talking about them, so therefore you must be triggered. No, I'm talking about that because I want to see my guys be able to build a better life based on what I've said rather than the bullshit that you guys are floating out there that gets passed around and passed around and passed around until it comes back to me and go, hey, weren't you the guy that said that women can't love men? Oh, God, fuck me, kill him. No. Oh, what else is here? Your red pill information helped me keep me from eating a bullet. Thank you very much. I'm glad you brought that up because I went over one thing I did do with my good friend. I don't even know what the fuck his name is. Fuckface from the white pill guy. I went and put a quote. I actually gave him a link to one of my posts, which was called the safety net, red pill and the safety net or something like that. And that in there's over 1,000 guys came in and said, hey, this is what the red pill's done to me. I've also done videos on that. If you guys go back and you look at the V Pro documentary that I was included in, I think 2 years ago, I actually ran a show on this show. And I said, okay, guys, call in, here's the number. Let me know what my work or the red pill or whatever has done for you. And we went over that and it's still up on this channel too. I went over there and I gave him the link to this guy who planned to kill himself, but haven't anything back. You probably won't even see it. I'm sure it's gone now. Please ignore the haters. Should I? Sam Bada's going to tell me to ignore the haters. Don't sugarcoat it. I'll try not to, my friend. EFL Carter. Who this? Hey, Godfather, what you think about the art of seduction and the laws of human nature? Okay, art of seduction, take that with a grain. It's still on my reading list. Laws of human nature, it's kind of watered down Robert Greene. I hate to say it. But you can tell if you go and you read like 48 Laws of Power, and then you read, if you read them all the way up to the front, which I have, but if you read them all the way to Laws of Human Nature for Robert Greene, you can tell the shift was there. You can tell. It seems to me like Robert has turned into one of these guys who's like one of these research guys who's afraid of saying the wrong thing or getting canceled in the Law of Human Nature. But good books by Robert Greene. 48 Laws of Power, obviously. 33 Strategies of War. Great book. Mastery. Absolutely. I highly recommend. That's that one of the, if not at the top of the list, it's certainly one of the top of the list. Art of Seduction. Yeah. But it's more than just like, how do I get the girls, right? Seduction actually applies to a lot more than just intersexual dynamics. It can apply to selling a used car. It can apply to politicians. There's lots of different ways to seduce people. I think the most valuable lesson I got out of art of seduction was that it takes a willing participant to be seduced. Nobody can hypnotize you unless you want to be hypnotized. No one can seduce you unless you want to be seduced. It takes an active participant on the part of the seducee, I guess. 1 in 5. What are your thoughts on guitarist Steve Lukather? Good. Old school, but good. Oh gosh, one of these days I should just do I hate to do like Q&A things anymore. I really need to do an AMA so that you guys can sort of ask me questions, but they're like the worst viewed shows I ever get. I'm glad you guys like them. And I will continue to do them, but it's like they're some of the worst viewed shows I get, because if that's for, not just for me, that's like for anybody. Like when you get unless you're like a super celebrity or something, like doing an AMA is like, I couldn't think of a show, so ask me anything. You guys call it. You call it. You should consider unblocking me on Twitter. Okay. What's your Twitter handle? Colors of the pills. Oh, red pill, blue pill, blah, blah, blah pill. Well, red pill and blue pill is, I think, a gimme. Everybody understands that, right? You do understand why we call it red pill. It's from The Matrix. Go watch the movie, not the new one. Watch the first one, and then maybe why do people don't like the second or the third? I kind of like the second and the third too, but they're not, granted, they're not as significant as the first, but it's all right. I have a very low expectation. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I have very low anticipation and low expectations for the new Matrix movie that's coming out. So just so you guys know. All right. We're at 2:13 right now. I believe I have caught up. Do I have a reading list? No, I don't have a reading list, although I probably should make one. Should I do a show on reading? Go dig up all these books. Just read my books. Good points. Rollo teaches you how to play the violin. It's up to you to compose your own music. Yeah, compose your own concert. Thank you. That's a really good analysis. Sweet spot. Okay. All right, so let's catch up here now. Not to be outdone by our good friend Cigar. I present to you the roommates.
About how so many men today, in my opinion, I feel like they're just giving up. And it started with the article that we talked about a couple weeks ago about how in colleges today, it's 60% females, 40% male, and that number is steady dropping by the minute. So a lot of men are not going to school, right? And then on top of that, then I heard, and most people have heard about the Great Resignation, where people are leaving their jobs in drones. I think they even talked about how on Patrick Bet-Davis' podcast, they said that there was this employer who said, I will hire anybody. Like if you apply, you get the job, basically.
Please.
And he can't find employees. So the men aren't even going to work. And then shout out to my guy, Philip, who sent me a message where he was like, he wanted to know my thoughts about men who were just leaving America and like traveling the world for women. Because they're just like, we're done. We've given up. We're going to Mars, Martians.
Okay. This isn't anything new, by the way. Once again, I did an essay a while ago. It was back in 2015, and it was called Bachelor Nation. And I have not. I should probably dedicate a full show to that at some point. But Bachelor Nation, the inspiration for that post was a 2-part documentary about Black men leaving the United States to go to Brazil to find a wife, right? Because women there are more appreciative, they're more feminine, they're thinner, they're more into, having sex with a guy certainly from a Western culture, right? Or Western society. In this case, it was United States. But again, Brazil is what it is, right? But that was, remember, this is like 6 years ago. So that was like 2015. And I thought it was interesting because it was very, you want to talk about the Black manosphere? I would say the Black manosphere started right there. Maybe even before that, but like I think I became a little bit more aware of the attitude, I think, of Black men towards other Black women at that time. And if you guys want me to, I should probably do a full episode on that at some point. Maybe a short episode. Maybe I'll just do a recorded one. But it was, I want to say it was at least a 2013 or 2015 documentary, and was called, the actual name of it was called Bachelor Nation. And it interviewed Black men who were leaving. And then it also interviewed Black women who, in every respect, have exactly the same entitlement as any woman that has ever been interviewed by Kevin Samuels today in 2021. And the guys are leaving or they were then, and they probably still are now, because they could get better results in another country than they could in the United States. They didn't want to have to be the high value guy that these women and the thing about this is, like, women still, like, within that culture, believed that they were entitled to the highest value guy because they had their own job, they had their own degree, they had all these things that we say guys aren't going to college for, but the women are. And when women go and do that, and they say, well, I can't find anybody who's my equal, I can't find anybody who is a high value, I can't find anybody who I would settle for, essentially is what they're saying. And the narrative that is fed to women is that you got to find a guy who is your equal, right? He's got to be the same education. He's got to have this. You look at the laundry list. And the way to get that guy is to be like a guy, to go to school, to get a good job, to start your own business, to be the one. I pay my own damn bills, right? You got to be the boss girl. And when you're the boss alpha female, which we don't have a problem with, right? That girl expects guys to find her attractive for the same reason she would find other guys attractive. She has made herself into a man who she believes would be attractive to women because she believes essentially in the idea of this mutual attraction. Like, they're all the cues are all the same, right? If we're all the same, if we're blank slates, if it's even Steven egalitarianism, if that's the case, then it shouldn't matter that I'm, 100 pounds overweight. I've got the bag, and men should be attracted to me because I've got the bag. Oprah Winfrey, right? Is she married? I don't think she ever got married. There's probably a reason for that. It's this idea that the more alpha a woman makes herself, the more attractive she will be. And I'm not saying every chick is like that. I mean, certainly like ambitious, like sort of overinflated ego women certainly think so. But what they don't grasp is that that's not what men are looking for. They're not looking for the alpha female. They're looking for the girl who's in Brazil, who's thin and feminine and defers to them as, you know, masculine authority. And, you know, you still have a responsibility to be a guy. You still have a burden of performance. Yes. But that's not what guys are looking for. And so what do? They can't find any women here. They're all boss bitches, right? They're all fat. They're all overweight. They're all entitled. We hear this day in and day out. And of course they want to go there. So how is that affecting this new generation? I hate to even call it a new generation, but here we are 6 years, almost 7 years later. How is this affecting this generation? Well, we think it's new. No, it's not. It's been going on for at least, I don't know, 15 years now.
This email chain.
and so I was just like, man, it's such a pattern of guys just giving up, man, and just not even wanting to get into work, school, dating, and just done with it. Like, and I'm very curious to why do you think that's so?
Oh man, it's so many factors, man.
Yeah.
I just think that men today, you know, we're baby coddled and we're a lot softer, you know, than the older time. So, you know, us just not getting our way or things are more difficult than what we like for it to be. You know, we just give up. If we don't like it, you know what I mean? We'll just go do something else that makes us feel good. You know, I know some family members, I know some friends that definitely just, you know, floating through life. And that's exactly what they want to do. You know, they don't want to do the typical go to school, go to college, get your education, find a girl, marry her, have kids. You know, what is it? The American dream. You know what I mean? They're not looking for that anymore.
The American dream, the 20th century old order American dream. It's time to change our minds about that. The joke I've always said is that, you know, TradCons don't want the red pill. They want a time machine. They want to go back in time to the good old days, to this golden era that never really existed and romanticized about when men were men and women were women. Maybe in, you know, post-war America, maybe that. But we're not going back. We're only going forward. There ain't no pendulum. There ain't no swinging back, swinging forward. You're only going forward, my friends. And right now, we're still clinging to old order ways of thinking. Anybody selling you on that is hindering your progress, gentlemen. Anyone who is selling you on that idea is hindering you from creating something new for yourself. Oh, these guys are soft, and they're soft. But why are they soft? Why did they get that way? How did they get that way? Is it because they want to shirk their responsibilities? Remember what Nassim said, you know, your duties, right? Real strong men follow their duties. What are their duties? Well, in this case, they should be preparing themselves for adulthood and not prolonging their adolescence. You know what's funny to me is when a woman reaches 31, 32, 33 years old, we don't say she is prolonging her adolescence. She's not a kidult. Thank you very much, Hannah Rosen, for that term. They're not kidults. They're not Peter Pan girls. They are women focusing on their careers. Haven't found the right guy. It's men's fault because I can't find any guy who's worth a shit now that I'm out of the really kind of exiting the sexual marketplace because I had my fun back in my crazy college years and I'm ready to settle down. I got to find a guy who doesn't want to play games, get serious, no more. I had my fun. No fun for you, right? You guys heard that. But okay, but nobody says you're trying, ladies, nobody says you're 30 and you're single, you're 33 and you're single. Nobody says to you, you're prolonging your adolescence, unless you go on Fresh and Fit, unless you go on a podcast where they're holding you accountable. But even then, they're not saying you're a kidult. They said you made some poor choices. Nobody tries to tell you that. But for men, because men had to be respectable, and I covered this in the Respect show not too long ago, there's a gender difference between respect for men and respect for women. So when a woman is unmarried at 33 years old, we don't go, oh, she's prolonging her adolescence. She can't grow up. We don't say that. We make excuses for it. We rationalize it. We go, she's a woman of the 21st century and she can't find a guy because they're all infantile and the guys her age are looking for girls who are 23 years old because now they have sexual selectivity and they don't want to have anything to do with a 33 or 34-year-old woman. Because if they were smart enough to see the game, play the game right, and they're 36, 37, 38, and their sexual market value peak and they're hitting their stride, they ain't interested in you. Because there's gender differences. We talk about it all the time on every friggin' podcast. But what we don't do is we don't shame women for that. We hold them accountable. But even in holding them accountable, we're not saying, shame on you. You should have made better choices beforehand. No, we say, you're fucked. Statistically speaking, you're not going to find a guy that is your equal. So your choices are this: die alone, which is what Amanda and the rest of these girls like to say, or you can say, I got to settle for a guy who is less than the ideal candidate, a suboptimal hypergamous choice. You're going to have to settle for that. I ain't never going to do that. No way. Do what's right for you, girl. Like that. Well, I guess you're going to die alone. Or you're either that or you're going to settle. In fact, some women will say you should settle. In fact, a lot of TradCons will say that, well, men need to man up. But what they don't say is they don't say women need to lower their standards. You'll never hear a TradCon say that. Oh, women need to be more realistic about their choices because now they put themselves, now they're making, 2/3 of them are in college. Nobody says, oh, ladies, you need to become more feminine. You need to do, you know what you need to do? You need to do what will make you attractive to men. Never. That show doesn't happen. We'll talk on Cigar Show, on Tim Pool's show, on you name it, Daily Wire. Ben Shapiro sure as hell ain't going to talk. He's not going to touch that show. He's not going to say that. He's not going to say women need to like make themselves more feminine. Women need to cater themselves to be more attractive and more accessible and more marriageable to men. You do that, that'll go viral on Twitter. If it's Rich Cooper saying that, 6 things that you can do. But those guys won't touch that because masculine responsibility gets eyes on the screen. We need more fathers in the home, and we do. But what we won't say is women need to make better choices of the guys that they reproduce with. We won't say that. So until you cover that, until you address that, your advice, your direction, you can't help these guys find a purpose. It's not that these guys are weak, which they are, but that's not the point. The point is that they don't have a purpose. And there's no incentive for them to find a purpose. There's no incentive to drag them out of their virtual reality, out of their escapes in the real world. Why would I want to go live in that shitty world? Anybody seen Squid Game? Because don't ruin it for me, okay? Don't ruin. I'm only on number 3 right now. But in number 2, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil this, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, spoiler alert. In number 2, they send all the game players and the participants back into the world, and they all still owe their money. They go back to their shitty lives and their shitty jobs, and they could lose their lives and get shot in the head if they keep playing the game. But they say, okay, you know what? You voted. You're gonna go back to your shitty lives, and you know what? Almost all of them come back to the game. And I thought that was one of the most poignant parts of that series is you'll see your shitty life is worse than losing your life for a chance at like $1 bajillion or however much it was, right? Your chance at success in a virtual game and that kind of stuff, it makes more sense. It makes better sense. I loved that. I love that aspect of that. And again, I have not watched the whole thing yet, but I love that aspect of the show. Because people will do that. Especially guys will do that. Oh, okay. Well, I have a shitty life, so I would probably off myself anyways. So I'm going to go play the game and see if I can be a big winner. That's gambling addiction right there, by the way. It's the high of feeling the win and then thinking you can recreate that over and over again. What do you say, Philip? For tuition and the research and development part. Thank you. Yes. The research and development department of the Red Pill lives here. That's why I should bill this show, the research and development department of the Red Pill. Gordo Eats. You have your own restaurant? I appreciate you greatly, Rollo. You are out here changing lives. Read the Rational Male at 16. I'm about to be 23 and has made me not only not eat a bullet, but succeed massively in all areas. Thank you very much. Good. You're a success story. Thank you for getting past the static and the noise. So last but not least, I hate to be picking on their roommates, but it's just so easy. And again, I could go pick up on I've done Candace Owens, I've done Ben Shapiro, I've done these guys. Are they mainstream? I don't know. Maybe I could go with somebody different. I got to that. Okay, wait, stop the show. Hold on. There you go. Technological chaos. Apparently, the roommate's claim on American Dream assumes jobs are a given just from taking degrees. Yeah, exactly. How many people? I don't know what the stats are now. I think I knew this a while ago, but I don't know what the most recent ones are. But how many people actually use their degree in their job? Is it just to say, "Hey, I got a degree. I've got 2. How awesome is that?" But I hate to say I probably do use both my degrees in this job right now, but how many people do? Even econ data states job growth and wages have stagnated since the 80s, despite a rise in college degrees. Why take more degrees in jobs that may or may not exist? I agree with you 100%, but I don't think that guys who are like Generation Z right now are making their decision to sort of like drop out of society or drop out of school based on that data. I get it. You're 100% right. And it's a good, thank you for bringing this up. But I think it's more about this online net awareness. I think women still think that the key to their success or the key to being a strong, independent woman is to have a college degree. Well, we were denied that in the past, so now we have it now. And there's a glass ceiling, and the only way to do that is to go to college and start your own business and make money and start your own, I don't know, gourmet muffin company. If you go and you look at, and I've mentioned this before, I'll just throw this out there again in case any of the guys from the roommates are actually watching this. But statistically speaking, the richest 10 women in the world made their money through 2 ways. Do you know what those ways are? Probably not. Here's what they are. Number 1, divorce. That's how they made their money. Mackenzie Bezos is number 5 on that list, I believe, as a result of divorcing Jeff Bezos. There you go. Not because they started a great company, not because they put their blood, sweat, and tears into it for years and years on end. And I know what you're going to say. Well, she helped him. Okay, whatever. She would not be worth $33 billion as a result of a divorce had she divested. Has she sold? If Mackenzie Bezos had sold all of her stock from Amazon, would it amount to $33 billion? No, but divorce will get it for you. And the other one is heritability, right? All of them. Every woman on that top 10 list either made their money through divorce or they made it through inheritance. Either their husbands died or they inherited it through the family, like their dad died and they came into ownership of the company. That's how they did it. Not from building it up, not from saying, you know what, we really need more gourmet muffin places. We really need crumble cookie. And if you know what crumble cookie is, you know what I'm talking about. That we need that. And I'm going to be one of the top 10 world's richest women because of crumble cookie. You guys are going to all go look up crumble cookie now. Go look at the one in Vegas. I'm ashamed to know I know it. Squid Game is pretty red pill show. I think so. I think it teaches some lessons, maybe. Yeah. I have a tough time wrapping my head around sort of like it's Korean, right? South Korean comedies. And maybe it's like you lose something in the translation because the guy seems like he's a pretty good actor. The main guy, it seems like he's a pretty good actor and everything else. But it's like, I think the translation, like for an American audience, you kind of lose it, but it's just graphic enough to keep you involved. And for me, when I'm watching this show, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's human nature. People would do that. And when they let them go, I knew they would come back. Thanks for all the content. You are welcome, Philippe. Can't wait to read. Good. Thank you. All right. Protect this man at all costs. By the way, if you don't know who Ricky Berwick is, you should really familiarize yourself. You have to find humor in life, or you just die.
And they feel like that even getting that is dang near impossible nowadays. Especially with the women, we ain't gonna get there right now. But we get that on Patreon. So I'm not surprised about just, you know, way social media affects us, you know, how we were raised growing up with the lack of fathers and you know, with the biggest presence of mothers being there. You know, we're a lot softer, and then, you know, we're just not as tough. So I'm not surprised that, you know, when they graduate and get into the real world, like, oh yeah, you want to have respect for men and be attracted to women, you might have to have you might get your life together. You know what I mean? You got to bring some kind of money in, some kind of responsibility in, and that realization hits them hard. And like, nah, screw that. I don't want to be valued like that at all.
Do you think?
Okay, so once again, the reason to better yourself, the reason to make more money, the reason to earn, to be respectable, the end goal of that is marriage. The end goal of that is to be more acceptable for female approval. That you know who's never going to tell you that. You're never going to hear that from these guys. You're never going to hear that from well, maybe Cigar. I don't know enough about him, but you're never going to hear that from a TradCon audience. You're never going to hear that from a white pill audience. You're never going to hear that from a whatever they are. You know, you're never going to get that. You got to see the forest for the trees, and all they're doing is looking at, oh, you know, sounds truthy that there needs to be more fathers in the home. Okay, first of all, statistically speaking, and I mentioned this prior, is that fathers tend to be in the home. They're just not married. They're just not married to the women that they're the baby daddies of. I mentioned this when I think I was talking about this when I forget the guy's name. He was a senator. I think it's Senator Owens, and black guy, and I think he's a senator or he's a congressman. I'm not really sure, but he was talking about like how very much the same speech, right? Well, you know, we need more men, and we need more black men and black husbands, and we need more fathers in the homes. We can't just have guys just ejaculate and evacuate, right? That's like this endemic problem. And so I thought, is that right? And I looked up the stats on this. The fact of the matter is that he's basing that understanding on marriage rates. When you look statistically speaking, those men still live in the home. They're just not married. They're still fathers. They're still involved. In fact, more so now than ever before. God, now you guys are going to make me go get the stats here. I'll go get them in a second here. The fact is that men are more involved in their children's lives than ever before. The only reason we say, oh, men are just like hitting it and quitting it. No, they're not marrying, because they understand that it is an unconscionable construct, or they should anyways. Mostly the people who are getting married, the very low percentage, 6.1%, people are still having babies. They're just not married. There's baby daddies all over the place. I was talking about who's the rapper guy that has like seven kids and 4 different baby mamas. I mentioned that. Actually, I think I got a soft strike on that one too for putting that on. But that guy, somebody will come up with it. Give me the rapper that I talked about not too long ago. Anyways, I talked about it then, and I put the link to the data sets that I had for the fact that we're basing our understanding on men's involvement in their kids' lives based on marriage rates, based on putting a ring on it, based on signing the marriage certificate. Oh, there's not enough men no, they're there. They're in the household, or if they're there, they're more involved than they ever been in history. Certainly since the sexual revolution, when all of this shit started. But they're there. They're just not married. But we only say it's legitimate if the guy put his name, the guy signed the unconscionable contract. We only say it's legit if that's the case. So therefore, in that case, if that's the criteria, then yeah, you're right, because they're not marrying them, but they're still living in the home. The biological father will, statistically speaking, the biological father will still live in the home with an unmarried woman for anywhere between 3 and 5 years. If he leaves, it's usually after that, or he will stay and stick around. It's not based on, you can't track that. You can only track involved fathers via the fact whether they're married or they're not married. That's what makes it legitimate. And as long as that's the criteria, that is old order 20th century criteria. Are they there and are they involved? That's really what you're trying to track. And you can't do that but we base our understanding on what we think should be, and that's putting a ring on it, and that's signing your name on the contract. So you can't track a father's involvement or his investment in his own kids based on marriage rates. That's what they have a problem with. So let me keep going here.
Is men being lazier, or do you feel as though society is set up for them to fail, so they don't want to try? So do you remember Stacey Tisdale?
I do.
Do you remember her point about why men leave their homes?
I do not.
So when we did an episode with Stacey Tisdale, what was that, 2018?
Had to be. Yeah. First time we was in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stacey Tisdale, she said, I'm not sure if you ever heard this before, Stefan, but she said that a lot of men, they leave their homes because they feel as though they're not useful in the house. So it's this premise where it's like, if men don't feel useful, they'll just give up. So if a man feels like, I can't contribute to this child's development, or I'll mess things up, I'd rather just not be here than stay here. And so when she communicated that to me, I realized a lot of men, if they feel like they can't play a game well, they just will quit.
Rage quit.
They won't even try.
Won't even try.
I agree, but I highly agree. But I guess I think the bigger problem, or at least what I see, is that today's world has been spoiled by the perception of instant gratification.
Yeah.
And so men, back in the days, if you wanted to get one off, you had to go hunting for women, go out there, meet a girl. Now you can go jump on the internet, watch some porn, do your thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They see these images of people who out of nowhere are rich and have money and fancy things. They're seeing these things happen, what looks like is happening fast. And I think that perception of instant or quick gratification makes it harder for them to embrace the process they have to go through to achieve certain things.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that's true either. Because what they're not addressing, Christian, by the way, is they're not addressing the incentives. We won't talk about incentives. Like, why? What's the point? Sorry, MGTOW guys, but juice isn't worth the squeeze. So what would make it worth the squeeze? You still want the squeeze, but what will make it worth the squeeze? Why would they want that? Oh, these guys are just getting there and just having sex with these women willy-nilly. No, well, clearly with the amount of fervor that women will fight for, safe and legal abortions, we know that's bullshit. And we know that women, like the vast majority of abortions, are elective. So if that woman has that kid, it's probably because she thought she could get something out of it, right? She thought, again, I hate to do this. I hate to say this. I hate to be the voice of reason. I'm going to be the devil himself right now. But when you get, what's his name? Cigar. When you have Cigar talking about, well, they're not really gold diggers. He's trying to soften the blow, but there is an economic expectation of that. Take that and put that into women's reproductive choices now. Yeah, I'm going to be that. It's me. Put that dynamic into women's reproductive choices. And you know what? That's why they will fight for abortion. That's why it is. And it is a existential question for women, because for the most part, women's power base is based on having an incentive for men. What is that? Sex. Women's only real agency in this life is their sexual agency, and that is perishable. It only lasts for so long. I've done full shows on this. Don't ask me about it right now because I'm not going to get into it. But when we talk, so how do we ensure that agency for the longest amount of time? Or how do we ensure that agency is viable for as long as it's going to exist, for as long as it's going to last, right? I brought up this before. I think if you follow me on Twitter, you'll understand what I'm going to say. It's the what's called the kill to party dynamic. And the kill to party dynamic is that when women when women have made bad reproductive choices, they want fail safes for those bad choices. They want to be able to say, you know what, he's not the one. That's the nice poetic, romantic way to say it. I don't think he's the one. Now, what that is that's exactly what Cigar was saying is like, it's an economic choice. Women are way more pragmatic when it comes to hypergamy than most men will ever give them credit for, because we presume that they're leading with emotion, and they are. That, women's proclivity is instinct, emotion, and reason. And that emotional side, we go, oh, well, she's being emotional and she doesn't want the baby, and now's not the right time, and guys will like buy into that. And when we try to sell abortion, from the perspective that, well, it benefits guys too, right? Hormonal birth control. Well, guys get the better deal out of this. Even what's her face, Susan Vanker was saying that, feminism has benefited men because now you can have casual sex whenever you like. You evil bad men. You Netflix. The Maid is a really you cannot watch The Maid without hating men. Even I hated men after I was watching that. Oh man, they're all like this. Wait, whoa, back up. They're all like this. I can understand why that's a very popular show. It is revenge porn. But the reason for this is it's not so much about guys like wanting to, oh, it's easy. There's always porn. Porn never has a headache. Well, there is that, but there's no incentive for them to want to get out of the escape. There's no incentive for guys to say, you know what? I could make a better life with a woman than sitting in my house and jerking off to porn, ordering pizza, smoking pot, and not getting a job. And who would bother with university? It's where all the communists go. It's where all the feminists end up. I don't want to go there. They would just kick me out anyways. If I was a guy right now and I was red pill aware, and hopefully you are, but and you're 18 years old, and maybe there's a few people watching, you're 18 and you go, I don't know what to do with my life. What should I do? Aaron Clary gets this all the time. He gets it from young guys. What should I do? And Aaron will say, join the military, which I think used to be that's 20th century thinking, by the way. Sorry, Aaron. But, oh, it's great. Go to the military. You'll learn some skills and you'll figure yourself out, kind of thing. And you'll need the discipline. Maybe that exists still to some extent, but 21st century in the 2021 military in the United States, at least, is not the same as it used to be back when Generation Z was wondering what to do with themselves at 18. I know, but there's this idea that, what do I do with my life? Where do I go? And when the message is don't go to college because it's worthless. You'll be taking out all these loans that you'll be paying off for half of your life as a result of that. And the job that you would get probably would not be, it's going to be there. It's not going to be there. Like we keep hearing these guys saying, well, it's just, you have to have a college degree, because if you don't have a college degree, you're not going to get into good jobs. And if you don't have a good job, then no woman's going to want you. Well, what do I do to make women want me? Well, guess what? You can learn game. You can be red pill aware. There's lots of things that you can certainly, chase excellence, become the best version of yourself. Doesn't that mean I have to go to college? Well, in the 20th century, it did. Maybe not now, because the incentives aren't there. Well, then screw it. I'm going to stay home and beat off. That's why. There's no incentive. And every woman and especially when we talk about like how women want these I say unrealistic, but they want because women only want what they want. I can't, it's not that women are like these evil, malicious things. They want the best of the best. That's the way they're wired. That's how hypergamy works. Hypergamy does not seek its own level. It's looking at or above. And if it's at, it always has an eye to looking above when it comes to guys. And again, that does not mean it's a straitjacket. Stop misrepresenting me. That just means that that's what they're looking for. Women don't have an attraction floor. Men do. Or women have an attraction floor. Men do not have an attraction floor. We will go slump busting. Let's just be honest. Not that you don't want the best. You do. But nobody's ugly after 2 a.m. So when we listen to guys who don't really have this, I'm going to keep going here. Hang on. I'm going to catch up with the chat there. Okay. But when we hear this kind of stuff, yeah, it's BS, man. It's like, oh, they're all lazy. No, they are, but the escape is more seductive. The escape is a better life. It's living in the escape is better than living in a real life. And so you want to know why a lot of like MGTOWs and black pill and doomers and all these guys are just, these despondent, self-loathing guys, don't want to do anything, or they'll make up reasons not to go and become the best versions of themselves. And they hate me, and they hate Rich, and they hate anybody who's telling them anything different, is because it's saying that your life, if you do the work and if you do this stuff and you get off your ass and you go do something, your life lived, your real life, actual life here, IRL, can be better than your fantasy, can be better than your escape. And you're like, no, I can't. And you keep constantly getting that. Yeah, it is. It's easier. You're constantly get that same message over and over again. It's not laziness. It's practicality. It's deductive reasoning is what it is. Oh, we're just going to be lazy and listless and everything. And it's easy to poke fun at those guys. It's easy to shame those guys, because men, to be respectable, they have to do something. To earn respect, to have a merited respect, to, your burden of performance. You will be judged by your performance no matter what. People misconstrue that also. When I talk about a man's burden of performance, and you can call it challenge of performance, however you want to sugarcoat it, the fact remains that men have to do. Men do, women talk. And if you don't do, you will not have respect. You will not get the respect that you think you probably deserve. And maybe you don't care about respect. Okay. But people will still look at you and they will say, his respectability is here. His respectability is here. What has he done? At the end of your life, it's not going to be the trophies on your shelf. It's going to be your body of work. What did you do throughout your life? What did you do? Did you create something? Did you do something? This is not a pep talk. This is an analysis. That's what's good, whether you like it or not. And you go, well, I don't care what other people think. Yes, you do, first of all. And then second of all, even if you didn't care what other people think, what do you think about yourself as a guy? Because you're going to have as a man, you're going to have a different set of criteria for what makes you to have self-respect, self-esteem than women are. For women, remember, respect is just something that is given. It is something that is on tap. It is an atmosphere. You don't respect women, right? Well, why? Why should I? Right? Well, the male version of respect is merited meritocracy. For women, it is always on. You have a vagina, we should respect the woman. Respect the little lady. Don't disrespect her. Shit, we just saw that in the very beginning of this stream with those guys. Hate yourself because you don't respect.
Yeah. So now when they're not getting women as quickly as they want to, they give up, because to them, this isn't working. It's almost like the person who's trying to lose weight and they go to the gym for a week. They see these people on Instagram talking about 3-month transformation, 30-day transformation. Little do you know they took steroids. It wasn't 30 damn days. But because you think that, now when you don't see enough progress in a week, you're like, F this, it's not working. And I think that has messed with a lot of people's brains and made it like they're giving up. But it kind of goes to your point, whether it's about they don't feel useful or they don't feel like what they're doing is making anything happen. So they just throw their heads up in the air.
So in some respect, I get that. But remember, what kind of guy? What percentage of guys is that attractive to? Everybody, I don't care what kind of guy you are. I don't care if you're alpha, you're beta, or anywhere in between. The seductiveness of a quick fix, a template to follow for instant success, is something everybody wants. Not just men, women want it too, right? They want a pill that's going to make them skinny. That's why they get boob jobs, right? And you get the Brazilian butt implant. Right? It's easy. Just go throw that in there and guys will want me. It's an investment in their future, really, is what it is, because they're investing in their sexual market value. But I understand. I get what he's talking about, but that's not the root of that's a symptom of the disease. It's just a symptom. Oh, well, what happens is guys see that and they see, oh, look, these guys have all these chicks. These guys have all this success. These guys have Lamborghinis. These guys have whatever, big houses. And it might seem impossible. That seems like it seems like another video game I could play. It seems like a better escape than the escape that I'm in right now. No, that's the real world. Well, okay, what do I got to do? Follow this 30-day program. That's going to appeal to guys who are already in their escapism. That's already going to appeal to guys who aren't going to want to come out of that. And it seems impossible. Shit, it seems impossible to me, man. I've done pretty well for myself. I'm not Mr. Organic. I don't have a big giant, mansion in Malibu. Videos from mountaintops, right? But still, especially if you're a young guy, why would you bother? Why would you bother? And then ultimately, you see guys who don't have anything like the responsibility, or don't have anything like the money, or don't have anything like what most guys would say, this makes you respectable. Like if you go and you ask Cigar, you ask guys from the TradCon communities, what makes that guy respectable? Well, he's got to be an adult, and he's got to take on responsibilities, and he's got to have a house, and he's got to have a job or a business or whatever, and good investments, and he's got to be on his game, and he's got to make his wife happy, and blah, 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 blah. He's got to be married, most importantly, right? He's got to have all this stuff that makes him respectable, and then he will be happy. And then he'll make more money, right? According to Cigar, right? Then you'll find contentment if you do all of these things and follow this old order way of thinking, this old order plan, this old order template that will help you be content. And then they see, well, why would I do that? When I see these guys with chicks who are just losers, I see these dudes who are just absolute dregs of the universe, and they're getting hot women. And if that's what I have to do to get hot women, how come he didn't have to do that? Right. Like what was it? I did an essay called Saving the Best, and I still need to do that again. I still need to do a full episode on that, but I've done episodes where it's like, why is a woman's sexual past important? Why it should be. Like from an evolutionary perspective, it's all about parental investment. It's about assessing and parental certainty, paternal certainty. Really is what it's about. But the actionable, the proximate cause is guys get into these situations where if they get with a woman and they marry that woman, they believe that they're going to get that woman's sexual best, when in fact she gave her sexual best with no rules attached to the hot guy in the foam cannon party in Cancun on spring break. She was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. He didn't have to jump through hoops. He didn't have to cater his life to get with that girl. The reward prior to the sexual evolution of marriage was you had sexual access. And then of course there's responsibilities, kids come after that, and family creation, blah, blah, blah. That's from time prior to the sexual revolution. But now you will see this every day. You will see this on Tinder. It is unignorable. Women will say, well, if you want me, then you got to love my kids too. I've got 3 kids from 2 different fathers. And if that's unacceptable to you, then swipe left or whatever, right? Whatever it is, swipe this way. And it's right there out in the open, right? Here's what I did. I had my fun. I'm looking to settle down. I don't want any game players. I want to look for somebody with the long haul. I want you to follow my rules for sexual access, which happen to be take care of my kids, invest in other men's children. That's the big thing, right? Take care of me, don't play games with me, be the perfect dude, have more money than I do, have more education than I do, be 6 foot tall, be taller than I am, blah, blah, blah. Do all these things. Those are rules. That's a criteria. There's a list of rules. So this is the criteria that you have to follow to get to me, right? To have access to what was freely given to 1, maybe 2 baby daddies prior to you even coming around and finding me on Tinder. Why would you want to do that? Why not just simply, all these look smaxer guys are going to be grinding their teeth at this, but why would you not just live in the gym? If it's all about looks, you should be a fitness guy. If you want to be a guru, looks maxers, you ought to be a fitness guru. I don't see why. Jaws are size. Go look it up. Get your grift, man. Go get your product. Get your gag ball and sell it as an exercise equipment. Go do that. Because when you see the reward being given away without having to follow the rules, and that's really what these guys are. They're rules followers. We're getting close to time, so I'm gonna pull him out of there. It's like this. 20th century thinking is, how can I make a man be better able to follow a woman's rules when he gets to the point, or how long does it take so that when he gets to the point of adulthood, which in this case today is not 18, it's more like 30, because the average age of marriage again is 29 years old. So we have to say, okay, well, that's what we're assuming. You want to get married and you want to file, you just completely ignore the unconscionable contract. And you go, okay, I'm going to build a whole life and be a respectable guy and everything else, because that's really what they're bemoaning here. It's not about your person, like I do it for me, right? And you should. The crisis of motive. You should do it for yourself, right? You should chase excellence because you want to be excellent. You should have ambition because you want that ambition, not because the end result is marriage, not because all roads lead to marriage. But that's where this mentality is. We can't save the West unless guys get married. We can't save the West until these fathers wife up these women. You want to know why they have singles ministries at churches? That's why. There's a whole industry for single women in church, in various churches, but certainly in Christian churches. Man up and marry those sluts. That's Dal Rock word at .wordpress.com. Man up and marry those sluts. Man up and marry the women who had sex with the guys who didn't have to follow the rules, who she broke rules for. Once again, women break rules for alphas. They make rules for betas. So when you hear guys like this saying, men, you need to go to college. You need to follow this old 20th century life path. You need to chase excellence. You need to be on your game, have ambition, be better educated, all the things that will make you need to do that, because if you don't, you won't be marriageable. When you hear that from guys, you're listening to guys who are ready to follow the rules. They are guys who believe in the transactional nature of women's sex. They don't have any other frame of reference for that. In fact, I know for a fact, Hafiz or whatever has said, at least I know in the lab when he was talking to, what's that guy, Ruslan, he's a virgin still at 30 something years old. Okay. Whatever, if that's your conviction, okay. But fact remains, your belief set is limiting you. Your understanding of women's nature, your understanding of all of this is limiting you. You're still stuck in your old order 20th century way of thinking about things. You still think in terms of pre-sexual revolution, sexual marketplaces. That's why. So when you listen to these guys talking about, well, we're really concerned about the high rate of men not getting in college. Why would that be concerning to you? Because they're not marriageable. Okay. When you hear that, it's not about those guys chasing excellence or having themselves as their own mental point of origin. It's about pleasing women ultimately, when the time is right, when they're useful, when their utility comes to fruition at 30 years old. That's what you're preparing for. 29, average age of marriage. Oh, what, did you got a degree? Yeah. Okay. Did you pay off your student loans? Because I sure haven't. I need somebody to help. I need a man with benefits. Okay. Are you cool with a single mother? Are you run down the list? That makes you a real man, according to them. That's the direction that you go. Do all this stuff, because if you want to save the West, if you wanted to fight degeneracy, then you have to do all this stuff and go to college and do everything else. Essentially that's it. And again, that is born of the idea that that's what you ought to do. That's the goal state. Jump through her hoops. Be ready to pass all of her tests and be ready to follow all of her rules. When you finally meet a girl who's ready to settle down, who's had her fun, who's already given it up to guys in the past, maybe not as many as you'd like to think, or who knows, but still, even if you find your perfect little quality woman who, maybe she's got a low body count or maybe she's got a no body count, you're still prepping yourself to follow her rules, to jump through those hoops. You're in a gynocentric social order, regardless of where you think you're at. And these guys can't think of a better way. They can't think of life outside of that template, outside of that path, outside of that goal. They cannot help you find your purpose. And so guys, when they're complaining about guys who are not going to college and they're not getting jobs and they're not economically attractive, the reason why they're upset is because there's not enough guys who are marriageable. That's why. And they will never understand. They will never wrap their heads around that because they're still stuck in older ways of thinking. Let me see. What did you put on here? Rollo, I agree with your view on what these guys are saying. If anything, it just makes me feel more inadequate and got to do 500 things to get a woman. Yeah. Well, what's funny is once you are, I think one of the reasons why guys get angry, and we talked about this, we were talking about the anger effect, why guys get angry later on. I think, no, it was, no, I know what it was. It was Fresh and Fit did a podcast or show. I think it was on Friday, and it was about red pill rage. Was it Thursday or Friday? One of those days. And I've covered red pill rage lots of times. It's part of the 5 stages of unplugging, and anger is number 2 in that. The first one, I think the first one was in denial. But the anger phase is really guys who are not angry at women. They're angry at themselves for having played along with exactly this narrative for as long as they did, until they reached a point of trauma or reach a point of crisis. And now they have to confront that their investments in what these guys are talking about, what Cigar and the guys in the roommates, what they've been talking about is not the rule set that other people are playing by. They can't help you find your purpose. You have to find it yourself. You have to build it on your own, especially now, because those old order ways of thinking are not productive. They are not efficient. They are not pragmatic anymore. I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm not saying that men shouldn't get into college and be an educated person. You should. But now you have to find a better reason than getting married to find that purpose. And that's what throws these guys off. Why would any guy want to go and be a better guy because marriage is such a great deal and it's the only way you're going to get sex? You're still thinking in old order ways of thinking. Let me keep going back. I think I missed a couple here. Let's see. Keep going. I'm seeing if I can put some of these up on screen. Here we go. Sorry, I got to backtrack a little bit. You guys don't know how StreamYard works. This is how it works. Can we say safety over freedom is chosen by a woman and weak men? Freedom over safety is chosen by stronger men. Yeah, in a sense. I think what's funny right now, I get what you're talking about. Was it Benjamin Franklin, or it was no, it was I forget who said this, but anybody who I think it was Franklin who said, if you people who choose security over freedom deserve neither. I think that's where that comes from. And that is a very masculine way of thinking about things, because if you ask feminized guys today, you ask women who are predominantly in the workplace, who are in social circles, who are in politics right now, they will say, you should fuck your freedoms. They'll end up like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Well, we have to give up some of our freedoms so that we can be safe. That's, in a nutshell, what they're saying. Fuck your freedoms. Thanks, Arnold. God, I can't believe he's the same dude that was in Predator. Tony DeLama. Rollo, are most girls not blue pill in the sense that they believe in the romantic ideals such as love, family, given similar exposure in Disney? Yeah, I think that I'm one. You know what I've seen is, if you could look at things like, if you look at like Disney Pixar movies right now, it's really more about strong, independent women. And the reason why that's popular is because of exactly what I said before, is like women are given 3 choices of men, really. It's never the good guy is not believable, or he ends up being sort of a beta wimp. He falls into the other categories. But there's the guy who is the asshole, the borderline abuser. There's stupid daddy. There's Homer Simpson. There's dumb dad. And then there's incompetent beta schlub. Okay. Well-meaning, heart of gold, but he's a schlub. Even if he looks good, he still turns into one of those archetypes. It's not about the physique. It's about like, what archetype does he fall into? And so as a result of that belief that's been around, really been fed to certainly popular culture, but certainly the media and certainly our storytelling has been, you need to be a strong, independent woman because those are your only 3 choices. And you can't rely on them for your personal safety or your personal security. Women are the vulnerable sex, and that's an easy sell. So if I say, well, I'm vulnerable and I want to find a guy, but I can't trust them. You can't trust any men. You want to know the overwhelming feminist narrative certainly for the last 20 years and probably longer than that has been trust no man. You can't trust him for your security. If he's a nice guy, always suspect him of being you, right? Always suspect him of being a stalker. Always suspect him of being something that he's not. That plays to women's need for like filtering out guys. It's the indignation need. Ha, I found him out. He's really not a nice guy. He's really a stalker. And I fell for it. No. You want to know why? Like, what is it? What is it? God damn it. Is it Pleasure Island or some shit like that? I don't even know the shows right now. Donovan's been covering these shows recently. I'm probably wrong. It's not Pleasure Island. Maybe that's a porn, but it's something else, right? And why are those such popular shows? Why is the Bachelor a popular show 25 years later? Why is the Bachelorette a popular show? Because it stimulates women's hypergamous filters. Is he really the best? Is he really what he says he is? Is he really the asshole that he's presenting himself as? Oh, Joe is such a nice guy. Yeah, he's never going to get laid. Okay, well, but maybe he's really not like that. Maybe he's just nice so he can get in Claire's pants. Who knows? That who knows is what sells. That who knows, that idea. And so you can either bask in that as a young woman and go, okay, well, I want to figure this guy out. And it's very self-satisfying for women to believe that they figured a guy out based on their feminine intuition, right? But if you're not that girl, if you're not that attractive, then the independent narrative sells better to you because you can't trust any man. And so therefore you got to do it yourself. Even if you're married and you found that guy and he turns into dumb daddy, fat daddy, stupid daddy who needs mommy to save him from himself. If he turns into just another child, he's a liability in that sense. And as a liability, you've got to, as a woman, be more powerful and have more money and be more responsible and be the adult in the room, because what women would love to do with men is infantilize them, right? They want to turn them into children. Disney prepares young girls for that position, prepares them to be strong, independent girl, because you can't depend on a guy. That's why. Let's see. Back. Got to you, Black Tiger. Black Tiger. That's Black Diamond. Sorry. Anything else here? Let's see. What's this? Do you remember? Let's see. The Last American Virgin. Yes, I do remember that show. A lot of, what's funny is a lot of those 80s like teenage comedies like The Breakfast Club and 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink. There's a few other ones I'm probably forgetting. I have almost all by the same director, as I recall. Those 80s like romantic comedies, or those teenage romantic comedies, really are some red pill epiphanies if you look at them with a red pill lens. They seem funny because it seems like what should happen, but when you look at them with a red pill lens, you go, oh man, this is for instance, and this is not, I think this might be a 90s movie, but if you look at a movie like Mrs. Doubtfire with red pill lens on, that is not a comedy. That is a horror movie. That is the worst. That is probably one of the most eye-opening red pill movies you will ever watch with a red pill lens. Especially when Robin Williams offs himself later on in life. And you look at that and you look at the narrative of what's going on in that. Oh my God. I don't think I could sit through the whole thing of Mrs. Doubtfire. I know it's supposed to be funny, but it's not fun. Or Tootsie, right? Dustin Hoffman, more or less a similar, thing. Not in the way. I think what's interesting about Tootsie is like Dustin Hoffman had to dress up in drag so he could get a job, so he could be taken seriously. Mrs. Doubtfire is Robin Williams dressing up as Mrs. Doubtfire because he wants to be closer to the kids that he can't have custody of. He can't be around. And consequently, he's watching his ex-wife bang what's the guy? James Bond. I can't remember the actor's name now off the top of my head. Is it Pierce Brosnan? Maybe it was. I don't know. A good looking dude, right? So she's there watching all this shit happen, and he's trying to be cool because he just wants to be a good guy. He just wants to be a good dad, and he just wants to be closer to his kids. Essentially, that's what he wants to do, and he's got to hold up this BS about him being Mrs. Doubtfire. It is like some really fucked up shit when you think about it. Dexter Barnes, I believe, and increasingly larger portion of young men are becoming unplugged. At least in my friends group, I'm 20. A third of them are unplugged. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. And Dexter, that's like half of it right there. That's like half of the battle. What you got to do is you got to figure out what you're going to do with it. What are you going to use those tools for? Because if you listen to guys like this, if you listen to guys who are they're concern trolling is really what they're doing, because concern trolling will get eyes on the screen. I can't believe guys today. Can you? Me neither. And women love it too. Yes. Teach them to be better men. Build a better beta. That's what they really want. I want a beta with a side of alpha. Doesn't work that way, ladies. You don't get a beta with a side of alpha. You get an alpha, and if he shows you a hint of vulnerability, you'll love him that much more. But he's got to be predominantly an asshole. He's got to be predominantly alpha. That's what gets you off. That's what gets you aroused. That's what keeps you coming back for more. And if you can lock him down, it's usually, you got a little bit of sentimentality to it, but he's got to be predominantly beta, or you lose interest. Perfect is boring. But what are you going to do with it? These guys, because I mentioned this on Rule 0. I'll drop it here one more time. Today, because guys are not going to college, because they've given up on church, because they don't have a strong father at home, or if there's any father whatsoever, they're not invested in that guy, or if they have a weak beta male father, they are the product of a weak beta guy who is sort of knuckled under to, womankind, right? He prioritizes. If you're that product, you have to decide what it is that you want to do, because it's on you now. And it can't be because you want to make yourself like, I chased excellence and I became a lawyer. I became something. I achieved something. That has to be as the result of you being your own mental point of origin, not trying to, at the end of the road, be the most acceptable candidate for women who really don't deserve your having done all that in the first place. Catering your life to become the perfect candidate for a woman who's looking for a guy who's economically attractive, according to most of these guys. Why else would you go to college? So that you could be more economically attractive. They don't talk to you about the other side, like get your ass in the gym. Women want alpha fucks beta bucks. You're not going to hear that. It's all beta bucks. I should have said that at the beginning of this. Everything that these guys talk about, it's all about beta bucks. It's all about being provisioning, protection, and being parentally invested. Those are the beta sides. And again, don't consider that. In this case, don't consider that to be a bad thing. But what they think is it's the only thing. So the only reason any guy would go to college in the first place is to make himself more acceptable for female approval. That cannot be your motivation. And right now it's not. Why do guys don't do it? Well, there's no incentive to do anything. But if you want to be more than you are, it has to come from making yourself your own mental point of origin. It has to be your own passion, your own ambition, and be unapologetic about it. You're not an asshole for being ambitious. You're not an asshole for thinking about yourself before you think of others. You're not an asshole for enlightened self-interest, right? I can't help others until I can help myself. I can't help them as well as when I help myself. You're not a dickhead for that. You know what? What you become and where you are, like, and this is, what are you, 20 years old? Where you are at 30 years old, what you've achieved by then should be not because you wanted to be more acceptable. Like hopefully you're the best version of yourself as you possibly can be in the next 10 years. Great. But it shouldn't be in preparation to be more acceptable for female approval, like every one of these guys has said to this point. Should be what you want to do. What are your strengths? What are your talents? What do you really love? What do you like doing? Most guys aren't going to find. Most guys were motivated for marriage because it was sex. It was the only way to get to sex. And that angst and that frustration and how do I get from point A to point B? How do I get a woman to like me? Sometimes guys will go, well, I'm really good at this and I could be an architect, or I can be, an engineer. I can be a college professor. I can be a Marine. I can be a pilot. I can be an athlete. Whatever it is, that's your talents. It used to be that guys would go, well, I'm going to be the best I can be. It shouldn't be about being more acceptable for women. It should be about, you want to be the best, athlete. I want to be the best at whatever it is that I'm doing. I don't care what it is that you're doing. But guys aren't like that anymore. And these guys sure as shit aren't going to help you find that purpose, because that to them, that purpose should be making yourself more acceptable for women when it's time to get married, when it's convenient for them to get married. That's why I say weak men like these guys, like all the guys in the white pill, like all the guys that the dudes on roommates, like all the TradCons I've mentioned up to this point, they can't help you find your purpose. That's what guys severely lack. Men need to be united in a purpose. Men do, women talk. When I talk about like how men communicate, and I mentioned this on the show that I did with Sterling and Justin. When men communicate, when men form bonds, it's over a project. And maybe it's the military, maybe it's fixing a car, maybe it's building a business, maybe it's artistic endeavors. I don't know. Whatever your thing is, maybe it's fishing. Who knows? Whatever it is, you form bonds over doing something. There's a purpose to that. We are united in purpose, and men united in the purpose of God are unstoppable. Right? I don't forget what line that was from, but they have to have a purpose. And you want to know why everybody's upset and worried about men right now? Because there's a lot of dudes between 18 and 29, certainly, who have no purpose, and they're not getting laid, and they're staying at home playing video games. Again, it's not the video games. Don't think I'm coming down on video games. It would be something else. If it wasn't video games, it would be something else. It'd be another escape. But the fact is they don't have any purpose. And these dudes are still telling you that your purpose should be 20th century goals, old order goals. They won't help you find it. They're weak men who cannot help you with that purpose. Only you can be strong. Only you can make yourself a strong dude, and only you can decide what your purpose is going to be. And you have to do that. You better fucking find it soon too. It will definitely improve your life. Your life will be better. Your real life will be better if you find a purpose and you find an ambition, you find a drive, an incentive, and a passion, let's just say. And you can stick to that. You're Eddie Van Halen. You're born to play guitar, right? Whatever. Okay. Go that way, young man. That's your purpose. Do it because you want to be the best at that one thing. And you know what? It's not that you can't go find a woman later. In fact, I expect you to go find women. I expect you to still be in the game. But the fact is like you should not be building your life or catering your life in the expectations of getting with a woman, signing an unconscionable contract, and think that you're going to live happily ever after as a result of that. And that's what these guys are selling you still, because they lack the fucking vision. It's a lack of insight. It's a lack of outside. It's a lack of vision for what is happening and what has been happening right now. They still look at the symptoms of what's going on from a 20th century perspective, not a 21st. They're not looking at it as the disease in the 21st century perspective. Let's see. That was Dave Barnes, or Dexter Barnes. Thanks, man. Thank you, man. Tony DeLama, I got to you. I got the Black Tiger. Anybody else? I got a lot of guys. Oh man, geez. Thank you for that, PP. PP, I think you just give me $100 super chats because you want me to say PP. So here you go, PP. You want this too? Here you go.
Dump that bitch.
There you go. See, he does this. He does. Okay, always a pleasure. Thank you. You know I'm going to read your name, right? I touched your pee-pee. Hamburger earmuffs. I like that one. Have to throw some cash your way. Thank you for that, Mrs. Doubtfire. Yes, it is. You won't watch that in the same way ever again. Mrs. Doubtfire. Who thought that was a good idea? Hey, Rollo, any advice when making a chick go to the gym for you? Or should I bother investing? No, don't. She's got to want to do it on her own. You can prompt her. You can kick her in the ass and say, you know what? Do this. Buy her a gym. Buy her a Peloton like that, like the commercial. Get the hint, right? Lose some weight. If that woman has no genuine desire to lose weight, whether that be for you or herself, the medium is the message, my friend. Don't bother. Move on. Women have to want to be invested in their own health and looking good. And if you're not the guy that they want to look good for, next. That's another form of making rules for you, by the way. You should love me the way I am. No, that sounds like a rule. No. PP, thank you. I missed a few up here. Did I miss? Let me see. Tony DeLama, I got to you. Geez, man. Sorry, I lost a shit ton of these. Okay, I got the technological chaos. I got the Cooper time. Chemo. Man, Rollo, there is an influx of reincarnation-based anime. Incels are being reincarnated into fantasy worlds. They're perverted magical chads. Yep. If you can't live, I've said this before, is that characters like Spider-Man, for example, is a really good one. I guess to a lesser degree, maybe Captain America was. Spider-Man's a really good one. Spider-Man is the kid who gets bitten by the magic spider and he turns into Spider-Man. And now he's still the same sweet guy he was, but now he's got a responsibility because he's got superpowers. And really what that is it comes back to like guys who are in any other conditions would be overlooked by women in the sexual marketplace. But because they're special, because they are Spider-Man, they get Mary Jane. Think about that for a minute. Now, I am not an expert on the Stan Lee version of the Spider-Man franchise. However, I do know that there was a girl he couldn't get, and now suddenly he's got Mary Jane. That was the focus. Mary Jane's the focus. Well, I got to get married. How do I do that? Well, I got to be special. How can I do that? What does it take to go from ordinary to extraordinary? Apparently, a radioactive spider. Let's see. All right, it's catch-up time. I'm done with the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it, but I'm going to read your super chats at this time. Cooper Time said, I have a 13-year-old son, read various nonfiction books. At 13? Really? He asks, I'm handing him the rational mail at some point. What age do you think it will make the most impact? Okay. Read book 3 first. Like, I'm glad you like my book, but read book 3 first, because as a whole, like the first third of that book is dedicated to red pill parenting because of exactly this question. I got this question so often from like 2015, 2016 that I decided I was going to put a book out because I had so many guys saying, well, I want to give my son the rational male at 8. So he avoids all the problems I had. What, at 8? But, again, it's better to demonstrate than to explicate. And I hate to say it because I'm glad you love my work, but explicating would be, here, read this and let's have a discussion about it. I would wait until a kid, I would say at the very earliest 14 or 15. And that's only if he's a reader, if he has the patience and the mentality and the attention span to actually read that. And then it's more important that you have the discussions with him. It's more important I think one of the best ways to raise a son in a red pill sense is to ask him questions, have conversations about the topics that are in the book when you see them come up. Maybe it's in the family. Maybe it's something he's experiencing at school. Maybe it's something that's in social media. Maybe it's a movie, whatever. Ask, like it's Socratic method, right? Ask the question, ask leading questions, lead the witness, ask questions to get to the point, to get to the conversation that you want to have with him so you can teach a red pill lesson. Demonstrate, do not explicate, particularly with kids. I do my best, even to this day, and I've done my best for a long time with my daughter, to say, okay, sit down, young lady. I'm going to impart some fatherly wisdom. I gave up on that a long time ago because it's much better to lead by example. It's much better to demonstrate than it is to explicate. And it's much better to ask questions that are leading and that will prompt a conversation about a point that you want to make so that they come to it naturally on their own instead of you going, sit down, I'm going to teach this to you and you're going to be a sponge and absorb it. Children will learn more from what you do than what you tell them. And when I tell stuff, when I try to impart, red pill wisdom or fatherly wisdom or even unclely wisdom to my nephew and my niece, if 10% of it sinks in, then I did a really kick-ass job. That's just how it is. It's much better to lead. My relationship with my wife is a much better example of red pill dynamics than anything I could say, oh, sit down and read this article. Because people see that. They see it in our actions and how we work together and how we love together and how we are just a really good example of a married couple to this day. Let's go back to, yes, Jimmy Page is the man. He was. It's good. I mean, he's up there, right? I mean, who's not? Like somebody asked me about Steve Lukather. You really want me to do a guitar podcast? I could. Should I dedicate a full show? I could do a live stream. I'm gonna do a full live stream. I should do it from the rehearsal studio. There's wireless there. I could do it. Let's see. What did you say? Apparently the roommates claim on American Dream. Okay, I got you that. Chemo, I got to you. Bradford Hogue. Well, Rollo, what would be a great way to incentivize your being, considering that they are unincentivized to reach these levels now? What would be a good point for them? Well, it used to be sex that would motivate them, Bradford Hogue. Now it has to be something that makes, again, you're asking me for a prescription and I can't give you a prescription. I can point you in the right direction. I can tell you what, how are you going to do that? If I had that, first of all, I would be a charlatan if I had that. Second of all, you have to decide that for yourself. I don't know what motivates you. What's going to kick you in the ass? It could be a natural disaster. It could be the meteorite strikes the earth. I hope you don't wait for that. I hope you don't. Most guys will. They'll wait for the crisis and the trauma to hit in before they actually get off their ass to go do something. That's usually the way human beings in general work. But what's going to incentivize them is having somebody to actually tell them, hey, explain the situation, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you find purpose. I can't tell you what that purpose is. Only you get to tell you. I can tell you the overwhelming, vital need to have a purpose and to drive towards that unapologetically as possible. I can emphasize that till I'm blue in the face, but for me to anybody actually giving you some sort of like, here's the plan, they're selling you something. And if what they are selling you is old order thinking, you need to walk away. And you need to be able to discern that too, by the way. You need to be able to make to see what these guys are talking about. Again, I hate to pick on the roommates because I know a lot of people like them and I'm not saying that they're not well-meaning. I'm not saying that they're like malicious in all of this. They just don't know any better. It's not from a position of ignorance or from malice. It's from ignorance. It's the only thing they know. This ought to work. They're still operating. Remember, I told you guys about the old set of rules and the new set of rules. They're still operating from the old set of rules. We're going to stick to these rules because these rules have worked for everybody. And if we stick to them and our perseverance will suddenly hit pay dirt, then we'll be glad we did. It doesn't work. Not anymore. We have to find new ways. You tell me, man. You tell me what you did to motivate yourself. I would like to know. Somebody tell me what you did. What did you do to get off the couch? What did you do to lift your ass off out of your escape and into the real world? If you're a success story, I want to know, man. I would love to know. Semper Fi qualified. Hi, Rollo. Around the time I was exiting the Marine Corps, the first round of women had all failed the Marines Officer Infantry course. Turned into how can we lower the standards, aka weaken the USMC infantry. Great idea. Yeah, right. Did you guys? Maybe you saw this. Maybe you didn't. I was somebody hit me up with this tweet from this chick who is like a general or something. I don't think she's a Marine Corps general, but she's a general. And she was bitching and complaining and moaning about her, like how she couldn't have her nice nails in the military. And she got really indignant because people said, "You're in the military, bitch. You should be." You follow the plan. Like that's the way it is, and that's the way it works. Well, we should do something different. Well, if that's what you're concerned with enough that you're going to, as a brigadier general or whatever the hell you are, whatever they promoted you to, if that's your primary concern, so much so that you're willing to tweet it out and look for sympathy, I really worry about the state of the U.S. military if that's the case. Let's see. Black Tiger got to you. Tony Lama got to you. Dexter got to you. PP, I got to you. Hamburger earmuffs. Very funny. And let's see. Hamburger earmuffs. PP, I got to you. Little Danny. There it is. Little Danny. Do you have any tips on how to get out of the slave 9-to-5 job mindset? Well, first of all, you can go follow Aaron Clary. He will help you with that. I really don't want to get another factory job, for example. Well, there's lots of ways to. So a lot of people are going to say, oh, go read the, the 4-hour work week. Be very wary. If you're in that state right now, I know I'm not saying that's not important to get your head out of that. You should, especially as a guy. You gotta be creative. You got to think about, like, you assess your surroundings. We're in a new environment now, man. We're in the 21st century. The old rules don't apply. The old rule set is not applicable. Working for someone else makes them rich, not you. In fact, if you have a job and if you're like training to get a job, and more power to you. I hope you're getting I hope you maximize the amount of money you can get as a result of that. But I think that if you're really looking to get out of sort of the 9-to-5 job mindset, you need to start a side hustle that becomes your main hustle. That's number one. Learn even the basics of business. Learn even the basics of, like, starting something up for yourself. There's ways you can start a side hustle that will give you sort of like gravy money. And then that will probably prompt you to do something different. But the mentality, it's hard. Like, if you would have asked me this like in 2014, I would have given you a different answer, because I was working in a studio environment. I wasn't doing this. I would go on location. I mean, I had a job. I had people that I answered to because I was working for somebody instead of working with somebody. I don't know if that makes sense. But I tell you what made me change my mind about a 9-to-5 job mindset is actually starting a side hustle and then getting into the gig economy and making my income and my security and my prosperity my own responsibility. Starting a business today is not like it was starting a business, like, say, in the 90s or the 80s. We have to take that really big risk, go get a small business loan, and hopefully you'll know what the hell you're doing, and maybe you rent a retail space or whatever the hell. I don't know how you get started, or maybe you have a great idea and you need angel investors or whatever. It's not the same. So there's a lot. In fact, I would say in many ways it's much easier to start your own business, maybe start your own side hustle of some sorts. I'm not saying that education is unnecessary. It is, but I would say, you start a side hustle first, because it's much easier to change your mind about money when you are the sole reason for your own income. I don't know if that makes sense. I had to change my mind a lot about money. And I changed my mind when I went from working for somebody to working with somebody. Before I got into the hustle economy, before I got into what I do, and I still kind of am to an extent, I got into the gig economy. And that was the best decision I ever made. Because I have a skill set, I have talents, I have a lot that have nothing to do with me being Rollo Tomassi or being a writer. I have lots and lots of talents and skill sets that I have put together over the course of my lifetime, that I know that if tomorrow I have to go do something else, I'm pretty confident I can do a lot of different things. Develop those, keep that going, and then get into the gig economy and become dependent. Like, your success, like the amount of money. I love waking up in the morning and go, you know what? I'm going to make money, but that money is going to be dependent on how much I put into it today. Not an hour. Not, oh shit, I got to get there before 8:00. It's how much energy and how much effort can I put into making money in the 16 hours I'm going to be awake, right? And what else do I got to feed my dogs? I got to run my dogs. I got to go to the gym. I got to do this. I got to get to the rehearsal studio. I got to go to the storage facility. I got to do whatever. Like, I'm thinking, how many hours can I put into writing book 5? How many hours am I going to take doing a podcast today? How many hours do I have to dedicate to I'm working on a new brand for a liquor line. I can't say which, but I'm working on that kind of stuff. How many hours can I dedicate to that today? That's because that's going to amount to how successful I'm going to be or how much money I'm going to make. And that will change your mind right away. You go from thinking about money in an hourly sense to money in an effort sense. I think that's imperative. Tony Delamo. I keep coming back to you, Tony Delamo. Albert R. Cheers, Dr. Tomassi. Manosphere drop Grandmaster. Drop. Oh, Dojo Grandmaster. Sorry. Cameron Ireland. Watch a documentary on General George Patton. Good. And I don't mean that from like good America. I mean like that you will learn some good stuff. You know, he should also look at is General Marshall. I think it's Marshall. I think that's what his name is. Really, also very good one. Last night and watching you today made me understand why he was so charismatic. Great topic and show. Yes, good. Yeah, and here's the great thing about look how old George Patton was when he was a general. I think it was I don't forget how many stars he had. Look how old he was during World War II, and that will wake you the fuck up. Tony Delama again. Most girls I meet have boyfriends, and most guys are not alpha. They know each other from social circles, college. It seems that red pill mostly applies to us in the free market. Yes. Yeah, you have to. The other thing is you have to be able to, sorry, there it is right there. You have to put it into practice, Tony. The red pill is only the theory. Game is the practice, and each is incomplete without the other. So does it only work in a free market? No. The red pill works. The red pill and game actually works in a lot of different contexts. You can use game and red pill in your marriage. You can use game and red pill in your work environment. You can use game and red pill in lots of different ways in your family. There's so many different applications for both of those. You just have to, again, just because you have the red pill lens on doesn't mean, oh, I'm so upset about all this wokeism. It's worth your red pill lens is not just for it's not just for indignation. Remember that. God, that's a really good one. Red pill lens is not just about indignation. Cameron, watch a documentary. Okay, I got to you. Thank you. You're done. And Albert, I got to you. Thank you for that contribution, my good friend. And am I done? I think I'm almost done. No, he didn't answer mine. Where'd it go? Is that Sancho? I got to you. Is that he's next in line? I think he's next in line. Back in 2018, I realized that sitting down on the couch and playing games wasn't going to get me anywhere, so I hit the gym and I haven't stopped. Good. Make your real life better than your escape. I don't know how more simplistic to put that. And AI and ML, I find purpose, work, chase excellence, and she will invent claims against you and destroy your life after divorce. This 50-50 division of property and alimony is barbaric and wild approach. Oh, yeah. Again, if all roads lead to marriage, then your purpose needs to be about, as I said, needs to be about you. Part of your purpose, by the way, should be having a complete education and understanding of just what you said right here. Be aware of that. Congratulations. Thank you for teaching the course. Thank you for stepping up to the front of the class and telling us about that. Because if it's not for you, then maybe people would have a purpose that wasn't congruent with that. Knowing is half the battle, right? What's the other half? Violence. No, actually, the other half is doing something about it. Tony Delama, once again, got to you. And what else? You know, this show is only a 2-hour show. Maybe 2.5. But I spend seriously like an hour talking to you guys. So just so you know, you're getting your money's worth. Tim True Tone, all the guitar geeks may agree Rollo should start a separate guitar sound. Should I do a whole one? TOMASSI. I should do that. I should create tones on my Helix and sell them. The TOMASSI collection of metal tones, gent tones. Asanji, hey man, what about game in all of this? I got with girls way richer than me. Is those guys don't understand you have to be the man? That's what's needed. Yeah, well, they don't understand that. Because again, guys who are focused are fixated on responsibilities. They think that is responsibility. They think that is the solution to listless, lazy men. What is it? No, not related to Mike Patton from Faith No More. Thank you very much. I got that reference. God, that was a great album too. There's actually a lot of good stuff from those guys. All right, so Asanji, getting back to your question, yeah, that's the thing. I mentioned that earlier on. Like, guys see that to get sex, they don't have to follow that plan. Okay, well, so here's a great thing about all of this, and I'm going to end it with this here in just a second. As soon as I get Chateau, yes, thank you. Should I? I should play guitar while I'm answering all of these. I don't know if I could focus on that. Shadow of the Old Ones, like Cthulhu. Thanks for all you do. I'm a recent reader of your book and feel like at 38, I'm finally starting to understand how women and intersexual dynamics work. You know what? You are the envy of manhood, my friend, because you're probably at your peak marketability right now. You understand the game. You understand women's nature. Hopefully you understand women's nature. You understand your own nature, and hopefully you're hitting your stride. Be careful. Actually, this is a very precarious time for most guys. When guys get to be like, they're single still and they're 35, 36, 37, maybe 38, and you're hitting your stride and you're hitting your sexual market value peak years, you got to be careful, because women will tell you fucking anything to lock you down, because that is the point in most men's lives, assuming they have made the most of their own potential, that they will have the most of what makes them the most attractive. And if you stay in shape, most arousing too. Hopefully you can stay in shape. Hopefully you've made the most of your life. Now protect your assets, protect your ass, protect your investment in yourself by understanding women's nature. You're never going to hear that from weak fucks. You're never going to hear that from guys stuck in old order thinking. Mr. Bungle. Yeah, Mr. Bungle was funny. I know Mike Patton was in that. It was kind of like, I won't say it was a joke band, but wasn't it like, didn't all his lyrics like revolve around like anal sex or like butts or something like that? I forget what it was. Mr. Bungle. I think it was supposed to be Mr. Bunghole, but they couldn't actually call it that. It's like Beavis and Butthead humor of like the early 90s. I should, huh? You want me to play? What should I play? The seven string? No, I don't have the Helix set up. I would have to actually set up a different input, but I will do that if you want me to. All right, guys, that's it. Don't give me any more. If you do, I'm not going to answer it. I'll take your money, but I'm not going to answer it. Thank you for watching. I hope this has helped in some fashion. I think the biggest thing the seven string. I think the takeaway from today's show should be this, and I'm sorry I went for so bloody long today. The takeaway should be this, is that you need to be cautious, certainly, of who your gurus are, but also I think one of the important things to do is to remember, if you're trying to find purpose, and most young men are trying to find purpose right now, and don't get into shit about, like, I know that there's a lot of guys who love Jordan Peterson, but he focuses a lot on meaning, and it's not meaning you're looking for, it's purpose. You'll find meaning later on if you have a purpose, right? It sounds like really woo-woo magical thinking, and to an extent, I think that, finding meaning or meaningless sex or meaningful sex or whatever, like that kind of stuff, don't let people like categorize what should be or shouldn't be meaningful to you, okay? Particularly people who have old order ways of defining what should be your purpose. That's you. You get to decide. That's the best. Here's the best part. Here's the optimistic positivity guy, right? Here, I'm going to give you some love before I leave, okay? Here's the love. You get to decide. How fucking awesome is that? Like I have a post that's called a New Hope, and I put this at the end of book 2 because I thought it was that important. And the best part, I think one of the reasons why people, like guys, can't find a purpose, or they can't cross the abyss, or they get stuck in their escapes, or they get stuck in this, oh, poor me, nihilism. And I think a lot of people who don't understand this get real frustrated with those guys. I'm not frustrated with you. I understand the nihilism. I understand the despondency. I understand the hopelessness, right? That's why I wrote A New Hope. Because when guys get that education, when they become red pill aware, yeah, it's really tough, man, because all that blue pill stuff, though, all that Pollyanna bullshit that you were sold by guys like this, who still are trying to sell you because they don't have any other concept. They're trying to sell you this. Oh, that's the all roads lead to marriage. All, the end goal state is you'll be content. You'll make more money if you're married and you follow this life plan. They want to sell you a life plan, essentially, is what it is. But here's the great thing is like guys, when they pull themselves away from that and they become red pill aware and they're pulled out of the matrix and they're not cipher and they don't want to be pushed back in, and they go, it's tough because they're like, oh my God, I'm responsible for my own success now. It's not follow the process. It's follow where I get to create. I get to decide where I want to go. I get to decide. I have these tools. I have this material. I get to decide. I'm the artist of my life. I get to decide what I'm going to build. I get to decide what I'm going to sculpt, draw, whatever it is. You get to build your life. Your art project is your life. And now you have these tools and you have all this stuff, and it's not follow this. It's not color by number, which is what old order thinking is. It's now you got a blank canvas or a blank piece of marble or whatever it is, and you get to decide what to create. And most guys go, I don't know what the hell to do. Yeah, that's overwhelming, man. There is nothing more intimidating, and any artist will tell you this. I think I'm nothing more intimidating than a blank canvas. and you got this bitchin' tool set, but you don't know what to draw. You don't know what to paint. You don't know what to sculpt. You don't know what to play on you got this great guitar, right? You don't know what to do. I can be as creative as I want. I know the rules. I can do this stuff, but I don't know what to do. And that's intimidating, particularly for guys who've never done it, who've never had to do it in the first place. Think of yourself as the artist and the manufacturer, the sculptor, the best I can put it, the artist of your own life. And don't be intimidated by that. Think of it as an opportunity. Holy shit, I can do whatever I want. And I am the one. I'm like I said before, my income, my success, my money, my revenue, whatever, all depends on the effort that I put in, not my relying on somebody else. And that's essentially, I'm glad that question came up. How do I get out of this 9-to-5 bullshit thinking this is how you do it? I got in the gig economy. It's like walking on a tightrope in the beginning for sure, but it's up to you. The money you make in that day is dependent upon the effort that you put in, not the hours that you put in for somebody else. When you're dealing with like guys who are telling you this is what you should do, you're a failure because you're not painting in the color by number. When you're not doing that first of all, that's very intimidating and frightening for people who are following the process still unsuccessfully, stuck in the blue pill. But here you are with a blank canvas and a whole bitchin' tool set. What do you get to do with it? That's, to me anyways, very, very, it's a creative opportunity. And that is awesome, especially when that creativity is your life. So keep that in mind. I hope that helps you guys out today. I will see you guys. Look for the show on Wednesday, which is the second part of the talk that I did with Sterling Cooper and Jay Waller in Tahoe. We were on. It's not on a mountaintop this time. It's in the Tahoe Keys. It's a very nice place in Lake Tahoe. So we had another discussion. It's about an hour long. I think that's what we kept it to. So it's not too overwhelming, but it's really good stuff. I think you guys will like it. Let me know what you think. If you like this show, also consider supporting. Thank you for the super chats today, by the way. And I will talk to you guys. The next time I see you will probably be maybe Wednesday. I think I might do another show as well. Not a live stream, but thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.